a sensory overload.
The best time that can suggest to us whether the baby may have symptoms suggestive of, we can't say autism exactly at that time, but you say probably an abnormality within the brain.
Join us this week as we focus on technological advancement that is helping doctors detect autism right before birth.
Very well. Good morning. Welcome to the program. My name is Victor Law on this beautiful Tuesday morning, the 6th day of May 2025. This is, of course, Good Morning Kenya on KBC Channel 1, the way we do it every single morning. Today is, it's exactly 6:30. We are on it. And yes, so much is still happening across the country, politically speaking. And yeah, because that's where I swim. That's where I swim most. So politically speaking, a lot is happening in the country with different alliances and friendship, quote unquote, political friendship. People are courting each other, people are visiting each other just to find a way forward on how to, the main aim is to dislodge President William Ruto in 2027. There is no way about it, all right? There is no way about it. And a lot, again, we'll be taking a look at what is happening and what we should be discussing in as far as the NGCDF is concerned. There is a public participation across the country that members of parliament are actually undertaking at this time. It started yesterday, it will culminate tomorrow. It's a whole week of public participation, whether NGCDF or NGAF should be entrenched in the constitution or not. There has been a lot of back and forth whether it should be part of the constitution or not. So today I want us to take a look at the pros and cons of having it there and what really is in store after the public participation. It's happening in all the 290 constituencies across the country. It's a busy week for members of parliament. I'll be having Warimo Gatacha, who is an advocate of the High Court, and Patrick Osoi, who is a political analyst. They'll be joining me here at exactly 7. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. There's a story that I also did in as far as that is concerned, Vivian, and just highlighting the progress of having NGCDF or CDF in the constituencies. But over the weekend, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen was in somewhere in North Rift and raised concern more so in Tiati that over the years, ever since the introduction of NGCDF, there is no new school in that area. Wow. No new school, and he was furious, so to ask. So the question is,
it's about actually,
yeah, you know, where is this money going to? And a spot check on some one of the constituencies I visited gave a clear picture of how, if that money is used prudently, the result is quite visible. We'll talk about that. Good morning.
Good morning, Victor. And that's a really good discussion to have, because, I mean, when you talk about the CDF, it has done a lot for most constituencies and the constituents themselves, like the people in these constituencies. It has taken so many people to school. So, yeah. It's a good discussion to have so that we just get to know how exactly is this money used. The places where it seems like nothing is happening, where does this money go? And is everyone ever brought to book on that? Well, today being the 6th day of the month of May, just a day before the cardinals get to elect the next pope after the death of Pope Francis. Cardinals will be converging tomorrow to get to elect the next pope to take over the seat of pope. And I can see on the front page of the Daily Nation, there's a story here I've just gotten to see where Cardinal Njue says Vatican has not invited him for the elections that will be happening tomorrow inside the Sistine Chapel to elect the Pope. I don't know. We'll get into that story maybe later. Otherwise, today being a Tuesday, it is Health Tuesday. And I can already tell that, Victor, you have some cold that is about to catch you. I can tell from how you're speaking. But don't worry, anyone who's struggling during this time, you know, this cold season, we will be dealing with that today as our topic of conversation will be dealing with allergies.
I'm generally cold.
But you're catching a cold, right?
No.
Come on.
I'm generally cold. It's the weather in Nairobi is not okay.
You are catching a cold. Why are you refusing?
Do I sound like I'm catching a cold?
Yeah, I think I know you too well. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, so our topic of conversation will be dealing with allergies during cold seasons. And we're just going to be checking what are some of the allergies that people get to have around this time when it's the cold season. How are you able to prevent that? How are you able to manage that? The treatments available and whatnot. And joining me for that will be one Dr. Theophilus Wangata, who is a physician from the Precise Healthcare. You definitely want to stay tuned.
Is Maria ready?
That
Maria, good morning.
Conversation. Maria, are you ready?
A very good morning to you, Vivian. And also be joining us
Okay.
around
Right.
the country.
We're told that there's a rat somewhere that has chewed your wire.
Imekula wire.
It's been worked on. An apology for that. An apology for that. All right. So how about we take a quick look at
the dailies.
Front page of local dailies. Let me start with the Star newspaper, Vivian. A quick one is the front page of the Star newspaper. That is what I have here. It's all about besieged leader. Besieged leader. That is Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, who is, the question is, besieged leader, will Wiper's Kalonzo Musyoka accept to play second fiddle to Matiang'i? That is the question here. And will Mount Kenya agree to miss both presidency and running mate? It has been a bit back and forth in as far as balancing the 2022 arithmetic is concerned. And now, when you look at that picture of Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, quite pensive, all right? And the question is, will he be ready to play second fiddle to former CS Fred Matiang'i? And will Mount Kenya agree to miss both presidency and running mate? And yeah, the story is fleshed out there for you on page 4 and page 5. And again, why president may be forced to revisit deal with Kindiki. Okay. The political undercurrents in Mount Kenya East threatened to reshape President William Ruto's power plan for the next election. The story continues to say that a determined push by the Kalonzo Musyoka Rigathi Gachagua axis to stamp out his influence in the region could throw spanner into the works. At the heart of his this storm is Deputy President Kithure Kindiki, whose political future now hangs in the balance. Quite too soon. Quite too soon. Okay. And also, the gentleman on the front page again is Fred Matiang'i, who is now actually on the move. Former Interior CS Fred Matiang'i has been traversing the country. With the big one was his homecoming in Kisii and Nyamira counties, where he had, how do you call it, homecoming reception in the Gusiland. So there's another story here. The story about a Ugandan who was found hawking gun in West Pokot will now have to serve 12 years behind bars. So it's a sad state of affairs there. So you can take a look at that. There's a story here where there is a pastor who rode for 100 days to ride in Africa to raise 2.1 million shillings. 100 days. But I think motorbike ride is fun.
It is fun.
Though I'm not a fan of motorbikes.
I don't mind motorbikes.
I'm not a fan of motorbikes. But there's a thrill those people, the riders, get. I envy them.
You envy them.
But
I
it's
actually
just-
do. I think I'll get a bike someday because I really enjoy those bike rides. I do.
You get, but you must have some sense of discipline.
Yeah.
When
for
you're on
sure,
the road.
For sure.
And they're not just normal bikes that we used to, the normal bikes of the Ndudis we used to. These are special motorbikes that can go from Nairobi to Mombasa within a few hours, like 3 or something.
They're
or 4
speed
hours.
bikes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a pastor who actually did that charity ride for 100 days to raise 2.1 million shillings.
Wow.
And now, after crossing nerve-wracking terrains, the team is back home. Adventure. So the story, again, Vivian, shortly. Why New Alliance puts Kalonzo in a tight corner as Wiper Party rebrands. That is what is here. Why New Alliance puts Kalonzo in a tight corner as Wiper Party rebrands. It's because there is a case of instant analysis. You know, we can take a look at that. That Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka has in the last 3 elections sacrificed his presidential ambition to support either Raila Odinga, actually Raila Odinga, so to speak. However, that he's made it, you know, so clear that he won't cede ground to any person in the next general election. And so now he's facing a team of political bigwigs who are also eyeing the opposition flag. So the question is, will he surrender for the 4th time?
Well, it's a matter of wait and see.
It's a matter of wait and see. Okay. So finally, that is what I have. The big picture of all the gentlemen and the Iron Lady who is there. And now here we have it. He is the main factor to consider, of course, in as far as politics is concerned. And then the gentleman who is also adding to the arithmetic is CS Fred Matiang'i.
Fred Matiang'i,
So here we are.
I think it's still quite early for us to know what coalitions are going to be there by 2027. We still have a long way. Okay, not too long.
Yeah.
You know, but I would say it's still a long way to go, because when it comes to politics, you know, just a day is enough for everything to change. So we still have 2 years to the election. So I'm sure we're going to be seeing other people merging, others leaving this camp or whatever. So it's still too early to get to predict some of these things, if you may ask me.
You are very right. Very right. In Kenyan politics, a lot can happen within a day. Within a day.
Absolutely.
We woke up the other day and we had a handshake somewhere in Arambe House and nobody saw it coming.
Exactly.
And that has changed the entire political landscape to date.
We now have a broad-based government. It's not something we would have predicted, you know, in this particular term of President William Ruto. But anyway, how about I take you through the Daily Nation and what has been highlighted on there. We have the top story over there is Ruto office gets 2.3 billion shillings for facelift. Now, Kenyan taxpayers will pay billions of shillings to upgrade President William Ruto's offices in the new budget, whose implementation begins on July 1st, 2025, making it one of only few state agencies to enjoy increased cash allocations, as KDF, teachers and police also get extra 45 billion Kenyan shillings. So that's a story that is on page 4. And still on the front page of the Daily Nation, there's this story that I had touched on at the beginning, whereby Cardinal Njue says Vatican has not invited him for the election of the next Pope. That's a story that is on page 2 of the Daily Nation. Another story here is on the assassination of Kasipul MP, now 4 detained, 30 days in probe into MP's murder. Another story is on Ruto's security. President Ruto's security, beefed up after shoe hurling in Migori tour. And then there's another one here, Gen Z protest deaths. Families launch public petition to force arrest of killer security agents. That's what on the first page of the Daily Nation. If I may just look inside the paper on this story of the voting of the Pope. Now, Kenya's only surviving Cardinal, John Njue, has said he has not been invited to the conclave at the Vatican, where the next Pope will be elected following the death of Pope Francis. Cardinal Njue said cardinals who participate in the election of the Pope are usually sent an official letter by the Vatican. So he has not received that letter, and so he will not be present tomorrow for that. Families of youth killed during anti-tax protest reveal pain and demand justice. There's a story laid out of a family, one of the family members of one of the youths who was killed last year on the 25th of June, and he's just letting out his heart and revealing the pain that he has gotten to deal with for, you know, the last almost a year now, and they demand for justice because no one has been brought to account concerning that. What other stories here? Ruto's security tightened following shoe incident. I'm sure you've seen the actual footage. I don't know if you've seen it, Victor, the actual footage of the throwing of the shoe. So clearly it wasn't intended to hit the president. Like the shoe, it's not the, you know, no one took the shoe off their feet and threw at the president. If you've seen the videos going around, someone was just playing around with their shoe, holding it as a phone because everyone else had their phone up recording as the president was addressing them. So he was just holding that shoe up. And then I guess the person behind him was like, yo, you're blocking my view. So he hit the shoe. And unfortunately, it went straight to the president's face. Yeah. So that's what actually happened.
Allegations here and there, just trying to get to the real fact of that issue. But by the way, Kenyans are just hilarious.
There's actually a shoe, a song.
Exactly. Already out. It's something like a country music or something.
Oh, wow. Let me just tell you,
right.
Kenyans are just a different
Kenyans,
breed.
you have enough energy, you can do something with that.
A different breed.
You can do something with that energy. Okay. So there is a story here, Vivian.
Yeah.
Before I come back to you shortly, when you talked about the new alliance putting Kalonzo Musyoka in a tightrope in as far as Wiper is concerned, and 2027 is concerned. Now, Jubilee Secretary General, that is Jeremiah Kioni, is now quoted to be saying that it is not a must that Mount Kenya has to present a presidential candidate or a deputy. That is what is here. That those two positions can as well rotate, you know, between different, not communities, but regions.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be domiciled within the Mount Kenya region. So that's also something, I beg your pardon. Uhuru Kenyatta, while he was president, said that the top job should not always be traded between the Kikuyas, the Kalenjin communities. And that is what Jeremiah Kioni is also trying to insinuate. And remember, there has been that debate of whether former President Uhuru Kenyatta is trying to push Fred Matiang'i, former CS, in a Jubilee ticket. So that debate has also been part of a discussion because they feel that President Uhuru Kenyatta, or former President Uhuru Kenyatta, is pushing Fred Matiang'i into the opposition to be the presidential flag bearer for 2027. And much as they're saying that, you know, we are still having a cup of tea, you know, we're just having a conversation, we're just having, you know, we're just friends just having a meeting. What has it that in some corridors that is not settling down with some people?
Okay.
That if that is the position of former President Uhuru Kenyatta, then it doesn't have to be a Jubilee party. All right? In several occasions, we've also seen that Jeremiah Kioni has never attended any of these meetings. But still, the person who is perceived to be supported by former president attends. That is Fred Matiang'i. But no, in politics, as I also like the way you put it, I think in politics it's a very long time.
It's a very long time.
It's a very long time.
Yeah.
And we are likely to see, from my own opinion, we are likely to see a number of friends coming, and we're likely to see a number of political parties will be formed.
I'm sure of that.
As soon as IEBC will be in place, the moment those people will be sworn in, we will see a number of political parties which will be formed, and the registrar of political parties office will be a very busy place. Something that, my own opinion, that there are some political parties that have already been formed. They're just waiting in some safe or some strong room somewhere, waiting for the IBC to be formed officially. And the biggest test for these political parties will be the by-elections. Because how many by-elections do we have in the country? A lot of them. So some of these political parties will actually front their candidates to battle it out with the ruling coalition, UDA and Kenya Kwanza administration. Sema tamu sana.
I'm sure you're really liking it because politics is your thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but I feel like Kenya is a really political country. So, yes, politics is the order of the day right
we
here.
consume and drink politics, sleep, walk.
For sure, for sure. Well, just to get to continue with what is on the Daily Nation, before I pass it over to you so that you can get us through the Standard newspaper, there's a story here. Mudavadi deals with he says deals with other nations won't be kept a secret. Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, who is also the Foreign and Diaspora Affairs Cabinet Secretary, has said plans are afoot to make bilateral deals and treaties public. Public as part of an open government policy. Mudavadi said such deals will no longer be treated as military secrets and will be made public once Parliament has endorsed them. There's that. And then still going into the death of MP for Kasipul. That is, Kasipul MP was shot 5 times. Post-mortem shows that he was shot 5 times as 4 are held. The mystery behind the assassination of Kasipul MP Charles Ongondo Charles Ongondo Were continues to unravel, with the post-mortem yesterday showing he was shot 5 times with 3 bullets remaining lodged in his body. As government pathologist Johansen Oduor reveals this details after a 2-hour post-mortem in the presence of Were's family members. 4 suspects, who are William Imoli Shigali, Juma Ali, and Douglas Mushiri Wambogo, as well as David Kagame, were arraigned at JKIA. So that's a story that I'm sure will continue to unfold as they try find exactly who was behind the shootings and exactly who got to shoot MP Were. Victor, what is on the Standard?
Yeah, very well. And I think before I go to the Standard, I think there's some good news here for the students that government will release 21 billion shillings capitation money this week. So some good news for schools across the country. Yeah. And of course, the Auditor General raised some concerns and allegations that some schools principals sometimes sneak in some levies into school fees. That is making it a bit difficult even for accountability purposes. Okay, very quickly on the front page of the Standard, what do you have here? Burden of advisors. That is what I have on the front page of the Standard newspaper. Burden of advisors. There is a pictorial illustration of how many people are in the president's, the advisors to the presidency, to the cabinet, etc., etc. That is what I have here. The economic advisors, David Ndii, Moses Kuria, Monica Juma. We have got Professor Kisiangani and Jauko Buru, who are just but a few been featured here. Gobbling over 1 billion shillings annually in salaries and office costs. President Ruto's growing team of 20 advisors is a heavy burden on taxpayers. Despite their impressive CVs, many fail to offer tangible benefits to Kenyans, with their roles overlapping those of cabinet secretaries, leaving the country questioning their usefulness. So we have got 5 people on the front page. There is Moses Kuria, who is a senior advisor, Council of Economic Advisors to the President. We have got David Ndii, chairperson of the President Council of Economic Advisors. Monica Juma, who is the current National Security Advisor to the President. We have got Professor Edward Kisiangani, who is former PS Broadcasting, Senior Advisor, Council of Economic Advisors to the President. And lastly, Jauko Oburu, who is the son to Senator Oburu Odinga, who is now the Special Advisor, Economic Empowerment and Sustainable Livelihoods. So you can take a look at that. That's in details why the Standard has put it in bold, where there's a case of burden of advisors. Very quickly on to the second page here. There's a case of global attention shifts to Vatican City as Papal conclave begins. That is what you alluded to, Vivian. It's a process, by the way. It's quite a process where there's a white smoke and a black smoke. So when there's a white smoke, there's a deal.
There's a deal,
Black
yeah.
smoke, no deal.
No deal.
So between now until we get the new Pope who is going to be representing the other side, then let's wait for black and white smoke. We've witnessed that in the past when the late Pope was being elected. I think Kenyans, the world in general, waited for that white smoke and black smoke. It was something that many people are not used to. It was a new phenomenon.
Yes.
So when you know, the international media houses would flash it and, oh, there's black smoke. No, there's no deal yet. Then when there was a white smoke,
Then
it's
you've
like Stephen
gotten a
Merudi.
new Pope.
Yeah, you know the excitement when Stephen Merudi.
Yeah.
So there's a college of cardinals who will actually gather from tomorrow to elect Pope Francis' successor rather. And now any of the cardinals can be elected the new pontiff through divine intervention. That is what is here. So it's going to be a very busy week. The Sacred College of Cardinals will assemble in Vatican City from tomorrow, that is May 7th, to elect the successor to Pope Francis, who died on April 21st, 2025, and the leaders of the 1.4 billion Catholics worldwide. In a tradition of the Catholic Church, this position attracts no open campaigns. Okay, no open campaigns. So no candidates are expected to present or publish their names beforehand. Yeah, usikuje na mabango and your posters and your manifesto.
Yeah. And by the way, do you know that everyone
Yeah.
in there, you know, the cardinals plus the workers around that area, you know, inside, who will be inside there while they do the election. Is it really an election?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. While they do the election, like, they all take an oath of secrecy.
Yeah.
Every one of them takes an oath of secrecy. You can't let out, you know, anything that was spoken in there, anything that went or happened inside there. You just cannot speak it out.
That's why you hear they say that it should be done through divine intervention. Divine intervention.
Yeah.
Hey, interesting. Okay. So not
For
only
non-Catholics, it's actually interesting.
It
It's like
is.
everything feels so new. You're just like, oh, okay.
So
And
that's how
then
it happens.
what happens?
There are
then
no campaigns.
Yeah.
There are no placards.
Yeah.
There's no.
Like, I can't, like, vouch for myself and ask other cardinals, please vote for me.
This is a
You-
secret vote.
Yeah.
There's no conversing. There's no tea. There's
No,
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 friendship.
no.
And can
No.
we meet in some corner somewhere? This is interesting.
Divine intervention.
Divine intervention.
Yeah.
Okay. So not only do the cardinals, Vivian, electors, take an oath of secrecy, what you've said,
Yes.
but the Vatican drivers, healthcare workers,
Exactly.
kitchen staff, and anyone else in contact with the cardinals will swear
Yep. They're also taking the same oath.
an oath of secrecy to never divulge any information pertaining to the papal elections.
Yeah.
Okay? So while any baptized Catholic male is canonically eligible to be elected a pope, in practice the College of Cardinals typically chooses one of its members. So what I'm trying to get is that if you are a baptized Catholic, you are fit to be a pope.
Yeah.
But it has to come from the clique of cardinals. All right? Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
In the Catholic Church tradition, the election of a new pope will be similar to the process that saw St. Peter's become the first pope through a combination of divine appointment and his role as a key figure in the early church. So we are going back the history when this happened. So let me take you, the Bible tells us, you know, how it happens with the St. Peter's and all that. So a lot is happening between now and weekend until we get the new pope who is going to represent. And by the way, the new pope will have to get his, you know, special name. All right? Like Pope Francis, that was not his original name.
Yeah.
He just chose to be called Pope Francis. All right? So if you are a new pope, the new pope who will be elected will have, you know, that open hand, either to pick a name that you'd want to be, you know.
Yeah. To go by.
Exactly. Quote unquote, a nickname. A nickname. It also happens in Kenyan politics. Did you know that? Some of our politicians here
Don't use their actual names.
actual name. I don't need to mention, but we all know.
Yeah.
For example, Baba Yao. We all know.
Yeah.
When you go to the ballot, when you're looking for Ferdinand Waititu, sometimes you might not get him. But the moment you see Baba Yao,
you know that's him.
That is him.
Yeah.
So when you're looking for Victor Olo, and you're looking for, you'll vote for me.
Will you be on the ballot?
No. Okay. The story that happened for Baby Pendo is a story that we've been talking about for far too long, Vivian. Officers in Baby Pendo case charged with rape, murder, and torture. Baby Pendo's case started way back in 2017 during the post-election violence in Kisumu, where 4 police officers who were yesterday arraigned before at the High Court in Nairobi on charges of crime against humanity. And now there is a case, they have a case to answer, and the charges are detailed in a comprehensive 30-page document filed by the Director of Public Prosecution, that is Renson Ingonga, which reveals how junior officers killed Baby Pendo, raped women, and some victims allegedly forced to pay between 500 and 2,000 shillings. That is a case that we've been it's been in the media for a very long time.
It's been ongoing.
Yeah, since 2017.
A very sad one, actually.
Absolutely. What do you have there before we take a break?
Okay, on still on the Daily Nation, we have TSC advertises secretary post as Masharia's term near ends. The Teachers Service Commission has formally started the process of recruiting a secretary who also serves as its chief executive officer 2 months before office holder Nancy Masharia retires. The Teachers Service Commission has called for qualified persons to apply for the job in today's edition of MyGov. Now, applicants have until this month, the 27th of this month rather, to send their requests. Ms. Masharia's term at the helm will come to an end on June 30th, 2025. So every eligible applicant is advised to apply for that particular position. Now we have another story here. Wainaina, why Uhuru and President Ruto wanted me out of KU. Professor says hospital ownership was the reason for his ouster before time. A year ago, Professor Paul Wainaina was unceremoniously sent on compulsory leave by the Kenyatta University Council, a move that threatened to end his academic career spanning over 5 decades. But rather than retreat into silence, the soft-spoken educationist took the bold step of seeking justice through the court. Determined to clear his name and restore his dignity. Professor Wainaina emerged victorious last week. Now, another story here, as we almost take the break, we have why WorldCoin was ordered to delete data. Now, global cryptocurrency project WorldCoin has suffered a setback after the High Court in Nairobi ordered deletion of biometric data collected from Kenyans 2 years ago. I'm sure you remember when they got into the Kenyan market and so many people went to just get to sign up for this particular cryptocurrency. Now, they have been forced to delete the biometric data that they got to collect 2 years ago in a judgment that entrenches the country's laws on the rights to privacy. Now, I'm sure this is where we get to end our In the Headlines this morning. Don't go too far. Good Morning Kenya will get to continue in a bit.
Pindi tunapowasha vifaa vyetu, tunapata fursa ya kutangamana na wasikilizaji wetu.
Karibu sana thĩinĩ wa tabarĩra ya Rwiga.
Tunapeperusha utangazaji uliobobea katika habari,
ni ũndũ wa macio na mangĩ maingĩ,
burudani,
ni harĩa tukoragwo tukĩigua nyĩmbo mwaki nyĩmbo hot,
na hamasisho la kiroho. Usiachwe nyuma. Jiunge nasi kwa safari ya kufana katika 99.5 FM. Shoro FM.
Ako wapi mwayo ndawazimu? Ako wapi?
Jemedari, chunga usivunje sheria tafadhali.
Lazima nimmalize leo.
Friday night again.
Greetings in the name of the Most High, Jah Rastafari. My good name is Marley Moses, the positive warrior, alongside...
Yes, sir, DJ D-Rage, the baddest. Each and every Wednesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 TV.
Tunakuletea the biggest reggae party in 254 in a yard extra. Extra niceness of reggae music.
Extra dose of entertainment.
When the thing is nice,
we have to do it twice.
Kenya's real estate market is evolving, with over 77% of rental properties being flats and apartments and an impressive 88.8% occupancy rate. The demand for housing has never been higher. But what's driving these trends, and how do regional disparities shape rental prices and investment opportunities?
I think a lot has brought growth into the Kenyan real estate sector over the past few years. I think there's been steady growth since 2016. 2016 was, I think, the year when there was the best performance in the real estate sector. A lot of this has been brought by infrastructural development. The government has been willing to spend on roads and power and water. These things, of course, make it for a very suitable market for real estate to grow as well, because it's very hard to come up with something where there's no access to it. You see, the Kenyan market is designed in such a way that the Chinese are here, the Turkish are here, they're developing, European countries are here. I think some of our infrastructural projects are even funded by Spain. So the ease of accessing the Kenyan market, even Arab markets are here, and also the ease of finance that has been there for quite some while.
According to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics Real Estate Survey of 2023-2024, flats and apartments now dominate Kenya's rental market, making up 77.1% of all properties. In Nairobi, this trend is even more pronounced, with 66.7% of all rentals being apartments. But why?
I think it's because of the demographics of the Kenyan population. The census that was done most recently showed that most of us are youth. Even here, most of us are the youth. So we have our families, they are growing. So you want to bring up your family in a comfortable unit. The most comfortable unit for that is a 3-bedroom, because it allows you to have the master bedroom, it allows you to have the kids' bedroom and a spare bedroom, maybe for visitors, the house manager, and everyone else. I think also the growth of the 3-bedroom units, has been around the suburbs, where we are having master planned estates coming up. So with that master planning, when you do a survey, before as a developer, when you do a survey and you see where there is a gap, then you see there is a gap in the in the 3-bedroom where you want to cater for a family. And you'll see that also for a family, when I'm buying a unit for my family, I'm willing to also get a mortgage for it. So with the growth of the KMRC sector, the Kenya Mortgaging Refinancing Institution, and the circles giving these mortgage loans, then it's a sweet blend where the 3-bedroom is very affordable and marketable and also very attractive because we are a young population. We want something we can have our family growing comfortably, and there is finance that you can access for that.
Despite high rental costs, demand remains strong. For instance, in 2023, 88.8% of rental properties were leased, a clear indicator of Kenya's housing shortage.
I think it's a broad issue. First of all, I would start with the way the market started. A lot of what is done in the residential market is off-plan sales. And there's been a lot of fraudulent activities, so people are hesitant to invest before you see the unit. Yeah? So you'll hold your breath. You'll see there's maybe a development coming somewhere, then you'll tell yourself, let me come next month to see whether they've grown and to see whether they've delivered. I can also say that because of the impact 2024 has had on our pockets as Kenyans, I know there was a report done that said that Kenyans are willing to spend more on a smaller unit so long as it's affordable and like gives them access to amenities, closer access to work, such that they just want the unit in a place that's accessible than where they can get. Like maybe you travel longer to get to your 3-bedroom unit.
Not all rentals cost the same. A 1-bedroom bungalow rents for as low as 15,000 shillings, while a 4-bedroom bungalow can go as high as 170,000 shillings. Townhouses in particular attract premium prices of up to 120,000 for a 2-bedroom unit.
For the buyer, it's more than just the unit. So even though they are buying it for investment and not even to live in, they will then check, where is this I'm buying? Let's say if I'm a buyer and I want to buy a unit for an Airbnb. So if it's like a 2-bedroom, I want it closest to the market I'm targeting. So I'll go closer to the market than further away. So maybe if there's a 2-bedroom that's bigger, but it's further away from the market I'm targeting, I will still angle towards the one that's closer, just because it brings people easily to your apartment, you know. So there are a lot of factors that people consider. And when you're looking at something like a 3-bedroom unit, it's a family unit. It's wholly a family unit. You don't buy a 3-bedroom unit, then use it as an Airbnb. It's very complicated to do that because of even the space, yeah? So it's something someone has to make an emotional decision about. And when they're making that emotional decision, they have to consider their family, their work, everything has to be considered, and overall the affordability of the unit, yeah?
For investors, rental yields matter. Bedsitters and studio apartments record the lowest yield at just 2.2%, while 2-bedroom townhouses lead with 8.3%. With economic trends, demographic shifts, and regional disparities shaping the market, what does the future hold?
The real estate sector is a good opportunity for growth, either as a developer or an investor. And I think it's something that even the young people should be willing to pick up. You can start as small as with a studio. So it's something that I think it's a sector that's growing, and because it's a basic need. Housing is a basic need at the end of the day. You can't live without a house. So it offers many opportunities, whichever angle you want to come in from. You want to be a property manager, there's a lot to manage. You want to be a developer, there are so many ways of being a developer nowadays. You can even just buy stake into a development company and be a developer yourself.
From high-rise apartments to luxurious townhouses, Kenya's rental landscape continues to evolve. For tenants, landlords, and investors, understanding these changes is the key to making informed decisions in an ever-growing market.
heart of sprawling urban slums where hope is often overshadowed by hardship, a pressing issue persists: teenage pregnancy. Teenage pregnancy in slum areas is often a consequence of a lack of access to education, limited resources, and societal pressures. For many young girls, it's not a matter of choice but of circumstance. Lilian Achieng and Rachel Diana narrate how they fell pregnant into their early teenage age.
Mtoto wangu wa kwanza nilipata nikiwa shule. I was 17 years. Ndo nilikuwa nimemzaa by the way. Nili drop out juu ya pregnancy. Niliona nikirudi shule itakuwa mtoto wangu atasafa, so nikasema tu nimlee, nikae na yeye, at least ni agro na mimi as a mother. Mtoto utaji mama yake, ndo at least unaona chenye analak nini hivyo. Sasa nilipata mtoto wangu kwa 17 years. I was in form 2.
I became a teenage mom when I was 20 years, and I will say like becoming a teenage mom at that age wasn't easy for me. Yes, because there were things I didn't know about taking care of the baby, like how I'll put myself like a mom that time. Yes, it wasn't easy for me.
Teenagers often face intense pressures from their peers to engage in risky behavior. Also, the absence of meaningful parental guidance can leave teenagers navigating their choices alone. Without open communication and supervision, they are more vulnerable to the influences of their peers. Dalmers, a clinic officer at Shining Hope for Communities Shofco, explains.
Well, one of the reasons as to why we have high pregnancy cases here is peer pressure. There's quite a number of youths whom we've talked to, and they've admitted that what is pushing them to engage in unprotected sex is peer pressure. The stories that they get to hear from their friends pushes them to the limit. And then if you look at the freedom that they have back at home, mostly their parents are never there, probably looking for work or looking for money. So they have free time in between to do what they feel is right or as per how their body pushes them to. Yes. So that is what actually is making the pregnancy rates go quite high.
Support from community resources and professionals can offer a lifeline for young mothers. With the right guidance and assistance, there is hope for a positive path forward. Mariam Hassan, a nurse at Shofco, is passionate about mentoring teenage moms despite coming from a religion that is strict on it.
Dealing with the teenage mom was not easy. I am a Muslim first, and according to religion-wise, I'm not supposed to be doing those family planning services. But I decided to make decision for myself because I was raised here in Kibera, and I understand the situation here. So I took it as part of my journey to help the teen moms.
Families often grapple with their own fears and shame, exasperating the burden on young mothers. The stigma is internalized, leading to strained relationships and further isolation.
It was sad because my dad aku accept that I will become a mom. So it was a hard process because I had to stand for myself. My parents didn't accept it. And I would say like, actually they have not accepted it up to now.
It was hard, lakini ilibidi waichukulie juu it was my decision. Nilisha decide nikuwe na mtoto wangu juu ni kenye nilitaka, si ati nililazimishwa, nilitaka by the way. It was hard for my parents, but ilibidi wakubali.
The stigma surrounding teenage pregnancy often manifests in harsh judgment and exclusion. Young mothers face not only societal disapproval, but also isolation from their peers and community. Teenage motherhood presents numerous challenges, especially in marginalized communities. Counseling is very important to make these mothers feel not ashamed of their situation.
The challenges that our teenage moms who are wanakuja nayo, first is they don't have somebody to listen to them. Sometimes wanakuja already wamesha mess up, ama mtu anakuambia jana nilikuwa with this person, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, I don't know kama niko pregnant. So as a nurse, you put yourself in that shoe, uone venye utamsaidia. Unaanza through by kumtake the counseling processes, unampea the services yenye ana need at that point. Kama ata need continuous counseling, unampea counseling na ku make sure that ame feel hapo ni a safer place that anaweza run to anytime akiwa na problem.
In communities facing the complexities of teenage pregnancy, community health workers play a crucial role. They bridge gaps in healthcare, education, and support, helping young mothers navigate their challenges and build better futures. Shofco is taking the lead in this.
So akikuja tumfanye hiyo test tupate ako pregnant, tuko na the social work department. Akikuja tunamlink na the social work department, tunamwanzisha hiyo the clinic process, tunamwelezea everything, na hapo pia tutaendelea kumlink na counselor because hiyo journey si easy. Utini ukiwa mdogo na umepata pregnant kwa society, watu watakudiscriminate, kuna wale wenye ma friends zako wote watakukimbia, some parents wataambia their kids usitembee na huyu mtoto, unaona tayari ameshaanza kufanya hizi mambo za ngono, amepata mimba. So kuna ile tunakuwa a shoulder to lean on. Alafu weekend Saturdays huwa tunakuwa na support groups zao, tunakuja tunawaongelesha, kuna wale wenye walisha deliver wanawamenta, at least hiyo journey inakuwa easy kidogo.
While the challenges of teenage pregnancy in slum areas are significant, the strength and resilience of community offers a glimpse of hope. With continued support and education, there is chance for change and a brighter future for the next generation.
To all the teenagers outside there, ningetaka kuambia teenage pregnancy kuna hard, kuna rahisi. Lakini ni hard, si rahisi. Unaweza kuwa pregnant, baba mtoto yako hayuko, ama unaweza kuwa pregnant, baba mtoto yako support, alafu mbeleni akuje aanze kukumistreat. So the thing naweza kuambia tu sana wasirush into relationship, early relationship. Yani kuishi na mtu ama nini. Yani they take their time to think what they want in life. Wakae chini wafikirie, I want this, I want that.
The advice I will give to a teenage girl outside there is, I can say that most of the teenage girls, most of them are sexually active, and I will just say, because they are sexually active, me I wasn't given that advice, so I'll just advise them to look for this family planning, because you can't tell them to abstain because they are already sexually active. And to teenage mom, I'll just advise them just pull up or bring themselves up, and to believe them, what you believe, like wanaweza, they can take themselves as a mother.
What I'll advise a teenager huku Kibera, I understand because nilikuwa nimereiziwa huku na nimelelewa huku, it's not easy. But anytime una feel uko sexually active, hakuna haja ya kuficha. Kuna clinics mingi huku mtaa, you can just go, useme unataka family planning. Hapa Shofco tuko na kitu inaitwa Tiko. Tiko ni ya young girls, inawapea family planning services na ni free, haulipishwi. Unakuja unauliza, utagaidiwa Tiko iko wapi, utapewa services za family planning for free, utapewa counseling services. Ukiwa mjamzito during that process pia kuna venye utali.
You. Tax amnesty is back. Kenya Revenue Authority is giving 100% relief on interest, penalties and fines for tax debts incurred up to 31st December 2023. Don't miss out. Take action now by settling your outstanding tax debt through easy-to-pay installments by 30th June 2025 and watch those penalties and fines for tax debts disappear. It's now or never to set your tax records right. Take advantage of the tax amnesty today. Terms and conditions apply. Kenya Revenue Authority. Tulipe ushuru tujitegemee.
Mungu saiti ya hasira.
Wewe nyamaza toka.
Huyo ni mwizi wa hiyo kijiji na kila mtu anamjua. Juzi kalipo achomwa. Kwa nini unafananisha mimi na wakina?
Nani?
Hao makoa.
Wewe si mtoto wa Shigondi Mako.
Na makoa hapo tunaishi wengi. Si mimi peke yake.
Lakini yeye mbona hakuendea wao wengine alimekutambua wewe?
Kukunishonea
nini? Nguo.
Wale wa kuchukua vyombo mwisho.
Auctioneer.
Ndio hiyo auctioneer.
Sasa ukisema auctioneer wa kushonea.
Si ndio ulijiingia?
How do you steal from yourself?
Why do you send some means?
Are you listening to yourself?
Of course, why not? Yeah. Why not?
Mimi naweza kuchapa sana wewe. Usione mtu yangu unafanya.
Musa.
Ako wapi mwenda wazimu? Ako wapi?
Jemedari, chunga usivunje sheria tafadhali.
Lazima nimmalize leo.
All right, welcome back. It's 7:27. Starting the topic today, slightly a bit late because of technical issues, but nevertheless we are here. Welcome to the program. My name is Victor Olo. Being a breakfast show, we do it the best way we know how. All right? Tutakuwa na mazungumzo tukinywa chai ama tukikunywa chai. Which is which? Wakili, tukinywa chai ama tukikunywa chai?
Mimi najua tukikunywa chai.
Tukikunywa chai.
Yes.
Tunapiga ngumzo tukikunywa chai.
Tukinywa chai pengine tukiwa pwani,
yes.
Lakini tukiwa hapa tunakunywa.
Tukinywa chai. That's interesting. Kiswahili department, please correct us if you're wrong. Kiswahili Kinakamche, please talk to us. What's the best way to go about it? Okay. Good morning. Wairimu Gatacha is an advocate of the High Court. We want to talk about the issue to do with NGCDF. There is that public participation happening across the country, across all the 290 constituencies across the country. The debate about to entrench the NGCDF in the constitution has been a hot potato, depending on how you want it. And now members of parliament are engaging constituents across the country to get their views in as far as this is concerned. So let's talk about this. NGCDF, to be or not to be? That is the big question that I want us to talk about. And if you are watching, please just talk to us. Send us a message. What do you think about the NGCDF? Many have said that it's quite beneficial to them because they've seen the transformation and the kind of support they have received because of that fund. And right now, I want us to talk about it right now. NGCDF, to be or not to be? Talk to us. Our numbers will be on shortly. So, Wairimu, once again, good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome back to the program.
Thank you so much.
So, you and I probably might not be direct beneficiaries of the NGCDF.
Yes.
But what is your take on it?
Thank you for having me, Olo. I think the spirit within which the fund was created was to make sure that developments and some of these services get to the people.
Yes.
And there is nothing wrong with having such a fund in place. Every other time, the problem is how it is implemented, how the whole plan is implemented. You find like there are people who in between the process would want to dilute the purpose and the reason why that fund was initially created. So I am in full support of the fund. However, there are some loopholes that ought to be sealed throughout the process. They need to be looked into, they need to be sealed.
Yeah.
I was following up the process of the public participation throughout the constituencies, and it was overwhelmingly acceptable to the people because everyone who was weighing in on this topic said just how the fund has come down to help them. There are those that are talking about the education and the bursaries. There are those that are talking about roads, electrification and such kind of things. So we can see what the fund has done. Nonetheless, we must also understand the politics that are involved.
Yes.
Because the problem is, how can you be in legal terms we say the judge, the jury and the executioner.
Yeah.
You cannot be the one who is legislating and executing and implementing. There has to be checks and balances whenever it comes to any process that involves the public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so in this case, you in legal terms, in relation to the act itself and the members of parliament, the fund itself, and the beneficiaries, how would you relate the three or the two? Because members of parliament are saying it has to be domiciled in their desk, all right, in their departments. But we are also seeing that push and pull from the governors and members of parliament. They also need some funds to the counties.
And also the senators.
And also the senators.
They are
and
talking
even some
about
MCS.
Yes, and they are talking about their role in oversight. You know, it's like in the most common terms that maybe Wanjiko and Mora will understand, there is what we call, like, maybe there is something that is there. In some few years we were told that kuna nyama iko kwa mdomo and all that. So there is something that is on the table and everyone wants to have a share of it. So you're trying to justify reasons why it should be allocated to you. So in my opinion, first of all, there was the court decided that it was an unconstitutional fund. However, what has it achieved? You see, so I think it is in the process of how it is implemented that needs to be checked. Because what will be done differently if the fund is taken to the governors? Have the governors fully actually made use of the funds that they collect from the county governments? Are we seeing, have they inspired enough faith that what they've been able to do, they can be entrusted with this other fund? That is one. For the senators, what oversight exactly are they going to be providing? The MCAs, I feel it's like every person, every stakeholder wanting to have a share of the pie, which at the end of the day dilutes the entire reason why we have the fund in the first place. Because if it is working, then let us look at the loopholes and where the problems are, instead of us thinking that we should maybe divert the funds to different other offices to achieve the same purpose. Because is it going to save more money for the mwananchi? Is it going to use more money? Is it going to bring more developments to the mwananchi? What exactly are we looking at to achieve?
Because when you have got different stakeholders, MCAs, senators, governors, and members of parliament are yearning for the same fund, that would result into duplication of roles.
Exactly.
So you look at, you are in area X or area Y. So how would, even if you wanted to bring some list, how would you segregate, or how would you bring all the regions together and say, because this region belongs to this, you're going to get bursary because of that, you're going... Is it not going to create a lot of confusion?
It will bring a lot of confusion, Vic.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Because we have been talking about duplication of roles within government for a very long time, and overlapping responsibilities and roles, which is a problem that needs to be cured, because that is also where we find the taxpayers' money also going. So in my opinion, I do not see why we should have these go to other offices, the governors, the MCAs, the senators. I'm not so sure even the implementation should be done by the MPs. So if we can go back to the drawing board, the other time we were on the show, there was a suggestion that that money should be consolidated and taken to the Ministry of Education, where now it will be able to disburse the amounts and all. all that. But how workable is it? It's a very serious conversation that should be ongoing, because there's also we've also seen a lot of loss of funds and resources still in the implementation of this NGCDF that's working. So it is not functional fully, because in as much as there is development and there are results that can be seen, there are still some gaps. Because sometimes you find, like, when I've seen instances when they are talking about when the bursary fund is being given, the preparation itself is more than what is being given. And sometimes when you look at that, you wonder, what are we really trying to achieve here? Because it's in the tent, it's in the seats, it's in the catering that gets to spend a lot more than what you're even taking to the people. So there is a lot that comes into play that needs to be checked on. And also when it comes to public participation, I'm happy to see that Kenyans are out there and giving their views. Also worthy to note is that there was heavy lobbying that was done by the parliamentarians, and it's because they want a good word and they want to retain the fund within their control. So it's important that we see public participation where Kenyans are aware and are willing and ready and brave enough to give their views exactly on how they view the things, so that they can criticize. I felt like it was overwhelmingly supported, and I wondered, was there not a single voice of dissent that would have said, we see ABCD happening with the fund, however, ABCD needs to be corrected. I feel like there is something that also needs to be communicated clearly.
Okay, so now what happens after the public participation? The members of parliament shall have received the report or the views from the Wananchi, and then now they'll come back to Nairobi, quote unquote. So now what happens thereafter? Does it have to go through a legislative process in parliament, or what will happen so that it can be entrenched in the constitution?
Essentially what they're doing right now, they are collecting the views of the Kenyans, the views of the people. They're supposed to do an analysis of the input, and they're supposed to prepare a report that adequately gives a report of a reflection of what they collected on the ground. Before implementation, it should go back to the parliament, because that is the house that legislates. It should go back so that they can consider the views of the people, and it is after considering the views of the people that they will see where, if at all, to make amendments or deletions or additions.
So thereafter, it has to be entrenched in the constitution. But then now, you put it in a very nice way. In legal terms, you are the accused person, you are the executioner. But then now, they're collecting the views from the Wananchi, then they're still going to legislate on the same report in parliament.
That is exactly what I'm saying. That is exactly what I'm saying. We cannot have such a good intended fund, handled, managed, and done everything, but one particular arm of the government, that one does not augur right.
So now what should happen? Because they're the same MPs who are going to come up with the report to debate it.
Absolutely.
Definitely it's going to be biased, because they don't want that money to go off their hands. So what should happen? Should we have a legal interpretation or intervention on this?
It is very important for us to cure the entire process, and it can only be done legally through legal channels, because it is also a procedural process. We know that whenever we have these commissions and committees that are set up, there is always a point of control, and unfortunately they do not seem to weigh in or to put in what we expect of them. I am of the opinion that, my own personal opinion, which I will stand guided, but I'm of the opinion that we should legislate on this fund without without wanting, unfortunately, it's the parliamentarians who will do it. But we should have them legislating over it, but the implementation should be done differently. Because even the process right now, you've seen how much lobbying they have done for the public participation. A very high likelihood, which is not the truth, or might be the truth, is that what we have seen is probably the mouthpiece of these particular leaders. The people are saying what they are told to say or what they are directed, you see. So I feel that we should go back to the drawing board and separate roles and responsibilities. Yes.
The controller budget has raised a number of questions in as far as the proper use of this fund is concerned. How do you control this? Because MPs will say that that money does not belong to them. There is a committee that when they want that money to go to them, there is a committee which sits in Nairobi. They come up with a budget, and that committee is the one that releases the money to the constituencies. But still the controller budget would say, hey, you know, there's a lot of misappropriation of funds in this. So what should happen in this case?
Victor, that is a very difficult question to answer. And it's also not so hard to answer because, you know, if everyone did what they need to do and they do it right, we will not be having that kind of a problem. Yeah, because if someone has to control, someone has to disburse, someone has to consume, someone has to use. But if we're responsible, we'll be able to do what needs to be done. Unfortunately, it is very unfortunate that the people that are allowed to apportion, disburse, and all that, they don't get to do what they ought to do. You find that there's a lot of pilferage and of funds and all, which beats the whole reason why this fund is actually being used the way it should be used.
Does Mwananchi really understand the importance of having public participation fully?
I want to believe that it's a growing conversation, because initially there are some legislative acts of parliament that will be released for public participation in those sectors that are especially involved, like maybe in the ICT, in the energy, but you find that the stakeholders are not even aware there's such a bill that is out there for their participation and for their comments. But after the 2024-2025 finance bill, the Kenyans have started understanding the need for public participation. And it is important that we also understand how exactly do we weigh in our opinions, because it's for a process to work, there has to be some order and processes and procedures to be followed. I want to believe that Kenyans are slowly starting to understand and appreciate public participation and how much it weighs in the democracy growing of a country. So, yeah, I believe that they are somewhat starting to understand, although there is need for a lot of awareness to be created by the people that understand the processes. And I feel like we should also try to make sure that it's not just an illusion. It's not just a technical step that ought to be taken for the purposes of ticking it as having been done.
There is this case, or there's this term, somebody will say the whole process has been overtaken by events. Ever since we had this fund, it's been years now. But the court ruled and said, you know, this is unconstitutional. So it takes precedence. It's been there for long, or it's unconstitutional.
That is the tussle that we have before us, because...
Because definitely we can see the product of having that fund.
Exactly.
Much as it's unconstitutional, but we can see the results.
So there are things that were done in retrospect before this ruling, before this judgment was issued. So you cannot take away the good and the positive that came out of this fund.
Was that the reason why the court was a bit careful in making that judgment, not to throw the baby with the bathwater completely, to abandon it and gave Parliament some leeway? Can you go and have public participation, then come back?
Yes.
Yes, I see it's unconstitutional, but it's
there's
working.
something good that's coming out of it.
Yeah.
Also, what we must also appreciate and accept is that our country is one politically driven country. How that petition even found itself in court could have been a very political process, because why do we want the Parliament alone to handle this fund, to do the implementation, to do the legislation, to do the oversight and everything? So for us to have this fund either disbanded or thought through, let's go to court. It's going to find it unconstitutional. It is going to be restructured, and it will be spread to different other stakeholders. So there's also a lot of siasa there, but I think after the public has collected its, after collection of the public views and weighing and analyzing the input of the public, we'll be able to see it's a good fund, but there's something that needs to be done.
There's something needs to be done.
Yeah.
The initial purpose of this was to have the socio-economic backbone of our country driven from the constituency level and all that. But to some extent, it's becoming political. When you want to see, governors are also angling for the same piece of pie. Senators, same piece of pie. MCAs also angling for the same. Then don't you think that Mwananchi is going to get confused? That even though all these levels of governance are looking for the same, are they also yearning for the same piece? There is one person who is at the center, Wanjiko, who is actually benefiting more from it. So the confusion would be, the governor has the funds, senator has the funds, members of parliament, MCA, etc., etc. Even women rep will say, wait a minute, you know, we are also elected members.
Yes.
So we need that fund. Don't you think it's going to beat the logic of having this fund in the first place?
Exactly. It is going to beat the purpose of having this fund, because when they look at it not as service delivery, as a tool to offer service and development to the people of Kenya, but they look at it from, what do I have to control? And in control, what will be my share? It goes back to this, Vic. We have an influx of politicians who are after their own self-interest, and we have very few leaders, because a leader will overlook their personal interest in an issue, and they will look at what serves the public and what brings development and services and justice to the people that are raising these taxes. So if our leaders are following this and looking at a situation where, what do I have to control? Where will I be able to control funds? You know, because right now, in as much as they said to be a very serious rift between especially the parliamentarians and the ground, what we saw yesterday was a completely different, what we've been seeing with the public participation is a completely different story, because the people on the ground are praising their parliamentarians for good usage of the fund, for bringing them development, for bringing them roads and electricity and bursary funds and building schools and all that. So I think we need to, it is important for us to collect as many views as we can. It's important for the report to be made public so that we can see. In every perfect process, there must be
some flaws to it.
So when it's too perfect, and yet there are reasons before the court that have caused it to be termed unconstitutional, we are not sure if the process is exactly as it should be. Yes.
Okay. And then, you know, it's not even a case of to be scrapped totally or not. It's a case of the constitutionality. Yes. Somebody would say, or as the court pronounced itself on the matter, go and conduct public participation, bring it back. So, was the court so lenient in making a decision?
It was, and you know, the court essentially tries to restore order.
Yes.
Alongside.
What do you think was running through the mind of the judge, you know, in writing that judgment and the ruling? What was running through the mind of the judge?
When it comes to processes and procedures of how a fund as such should be created and run, there are some options. There are options. There are some things that ought to be done and looked into. However, this fund that has not been properly framed and taken care of has also served very good things, very good purposes, very good, it has achieved very good things. So instead of scrapping it out, I will give you an opportunity to go back to the public who you say it has done something. Go find out what they have to say about it, the good and the bad, and then bring it back. Because it's not a fund that should not be there. It's about how it is being used, how it has been framed, how it has been, all those things, you know. So I think that it was a very sound judgment to not only to not scrap it out immediately, but to send them back to the people, so that we don't remove something that is entirely good. Because when we scrap out the NGCDF, then what are we going to be doing?
Members of Parliament would say they're still going to go back to the normal way of doing things, the Harambes, where, you know, way back in the day, there would be Harambe somewhere to collect funds and take schools. But then the truth of the matter is, when people talk about NGCDF, they only think about the bursary. But the truth of the matter is that money is being used for different projects across the constituencies. Either construction of classes, new classrooms, you know, buying of new stationery, desks, talk about that, and even building of bridges in different areas of the constituencies across the country. You've put it correctly, that yes, there's that good side, but the other side of it is the misappropriation of funds. With the Controller of Budget is also questioning that we need to seal the loopholes. What do you think should be done? Because if there is a committee which sits down and says, this financial year, we are going to give this particular amount. This is how you're going to spend it on Project X and Project Y. So how do you seal that loophole so that it's watertight, devoid of corruption and misappropriation of this fund?
I think in everything, we have professionals and experts that should be in this, that should be involved in these processes. There should those that should be advising on the legality. There should those that should be advising on the numbers. There should be those people that are advising on the how to manage the resources, which people to involve, which people not to involve. I think if we have, and the country is already having enough of this, if we have professional experts that are involved in the processes to make sure that this goes where it's supposed to go, and we have a regulation controlling this kind of situation, then I think we'll be able to see something different.
So what if it's handed over to the governors? Will we see some change?
I think we'll see a change, but not a very positive one, because let the governors... A change is a change. A change is a change, but not a very good one, because, for instance, let them first inspire confidence in how they're already running their affairs in the government, in their county governments. Then there could be a consideration if they are actually supposed to to be handling this fund. In my opinion, I don't see it as a very good option for them to handle that fund. I think they already have enough roles and responsibilities, enough sources of collection of revenue, and I think that is something that should be separated from them. Yes.
There is something, but somebody says that Kenya parliamentarians should strictly stick to legislation, oversight and representation roles as enshrined in the constitution. They have no business handling taxpayers' money save for their salaries, period.
I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. That that is also when you are talking about being the judge, the jury, the executioner and all that, we could not have them handle everything in this fund.
Yes.
So let them legislate and let the other relevant people and stakeholders do what they ought to do when it comes to managing the fund. If there is oversight, of course there is oversight, there is going to be someone who is going to do the oversight, and they will maybe be appointed or something. I want to imagine now when we bring oversight, we have the Senate, we have the MCAs, everyone wanting. It's not a very easy situation to give a direct answer. It's quite complex, but something will come through. Something will come up. We are happy. We'll be excited to see what happens. Okay.
More feedback here. Somebody says the Constitution spells out the duties of elected persons. It's representation, B, legislation, and C, oversight. That's exactly what I said. That these people should never come close to finances because it's not what they were elected to do. And they are also acting in impunity. Because the court said NGCDF is unconstitutional. They should obey the law and the court's decision. Someone else says that is basket of corruption for MPs. CDF benefit mostly MPs, his or her cronies. Someone also says that either to national government being monitored by National Assembly, MPs and counties monitored by senators and MCAs, just as 2010 Constitution says NGCDF is illegal. Mwingine nasema remove it and that money put into one basket so that education to be free from bursary to university. But that is another concern, that NGCDF is not meant for bursary solely. All right? In as much as they want it to be in a consolidated fund, that education should be free for all. What about other projects in the constituency? I think that's where the problem is, because other stakeholders will say, because the member of parliament has this money in his docket, he's benefiting more than us. So scrap it and take it back to the national consolidated fund and then let the government run it. But will it work effectively even if it's put in a consolidated fund?
It obviously raises a lot of questions and concerns, because most of the views that have been collected, they are mostly communicating to the questions surrounding education, bursaries, and probably school-related programs. Well, my understanding of the NGCDF is broader, beyond.
It's huge.
It's huge. Yeah. It's just that maybe they have chosen to focus on education, which is also a very good and noble thing to focus on, but there should be more, because there should be more issues that should be handled within the constituencies. So I don't think for sure if consolidating the fund and taking it back to the national government will cure the problem, because we might actually see a reverse of some of the programs that have already been carried out and implemented by the constituency, at the constituency level. And again, sorry Vic, and again, when we are thinking about decentralization of power and resources, removing this money from the constituencies and taking it to the national government, are we not going back? When we are talking about decentralization, the spirit of devolution, why are we now in devolved system? If we go back now to removing these funds from the constituencies and taking it back to the national government for implementation and all, what are we saying about devolution and decentralization of those resources? It obviously takes us back, which is not a very good idea.
Every decision was made at the Ministry of Education somewhere in Nairobi, Harambee House, and was it Jogo House or something?
Exactly.
That if you want a development in particular constituency, you have to look for the CS. Back then it was a cabinet minister to make decisions. So let's just be hypothetical here.
Yes.
So what if it's scrapped off in its entirety?
There is a very high likelihood that we will not see some of the fruits that were born while it has been functional. There is a very, very high likelihood, because it's a good fund that has achieved so much. Unfortunately, that has also not been has been largely misappropriated. So I am of the opinion that it should not be scrapped off, because it's a good fund. It has achieved good and beautiful things for our nation at the constituency levels, but it needs to, there are so many loopholes that needs to be sealed, and we need to do it devoid of the politics.
Somebody is saying that let it be put under the county government and be issued by MCS. Mambo ni kidogo sana.
I think that will, in my opinion, that will be the first step towards the wrong. Towards the wrong direction.
That would mean a lot of policies will have to be changed.
Of course.
Legally speaking, because it has to go to the county government, and then it comes from the county government to the members of county assembly. That would include a lot of legislation for it to be effected. A lot of feedback is just coming in.
Okay.
Lastly, I would rather it be placed under District Development Committee, that is national government body, and the MP be the oversight, the project being undertaken. And lastly, say that otherwise, governors, no. These are just...
The governors, no?
Okay. Governors, no. There's something I've censored there. So, basically, it would rather be placed under District Development Committee. So, it's unconstitutional as per the court, so which means everything that is done right now has to be crafted that when the judge or when the courts will have to look at it, they will have to interpret it, that it's legal. The process and the procedures are watertight. Whether it is under the district committee, under MPs, or whichever it is, it's watertight, that is quite devoid of having all these legal loopholes that we are seeing. And finally, on this, the constituency, the Mwananchi, what do you think the Mwananchi will suffer if this money is not actually taken back to the national government? The biggest beneficiary here, let's just say, is Mwananchi.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are those learners whose education and has been taken care of by virtue of this fund. So the future of their education will be left unstable and unknown, which is very dangerous and quite unfortunate. There are so many other projects that this fund should be able to take care of. We are talking, for instance, development. So those ones too will have stalled, not like they have taken off already, but they will also be left without a fund to take care of them. So I think scrapping it off is definitely a very, very wrong way of going about it. But it is in taking up the required steps to make sure that it is there legally and it is there constitutionally, and it is being managed, oversighted, and is being functional, using the correct people, the proper stakeholders, and people that ought to make sure that the fund achieves what it was initially supposed to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I think it's quite important to note that if you are in any constituency across the country, please just make it to any of the positions or the centers where public participation is taking place. It will end tomorrow. It started yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And members of parliament are all busy in their constituencies across the country, collecting views. Your view and your point is quite important in as far as this is concerned. Some of us never used NGCDF, but you can see the fruits of it being around. Well, siasa iko hapa na pale, that is what we consume as Kenyans. But the most important thing, please, if you can make it to any center, go and get your view done. Warimu Gatacha, an advocate of the High Court, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Vic,
That's
for having me.
Asante sana. All right, we're taking a break, and we come back. We're crossing over to radio today. They're talking about state of security in the country. State of security in the country. Rashid Makondo and Dora Manya will be handling that. Stay with us. I'm Victor Lo. Good morning.
Are you a talented artist? Or are you passionate about a topic you want to discuss? But money can be very hard to find for an upcoming artist. Don't worry, Studio Mashinani has got your back. Sign up on ajira.co.ke to book a session with your music and video producers across the country. Work on your music, jingles, spoken words, and even podcasts to realize your dream. All for free. Studio Mashinani, Radani Talent.
Now, autism spectrum disorder is a lifelong condition that affects how a person's brain works, making it harder for them to communicate, interact socially, and adapt to changes.
Autism is not a disease. The only thing they need is just a cuddle and the best love.
Most of the activities we're planning around him, yes, even when we are planning a place to go, we have to think about what is likely to give him a sensory overload.
The best time that can suggest to us whether the baby may have symptoms suggestive of, we can't say autism exactly at that time, but you say probably an abnormality within the brain.
Join us this week as we focus on technological advancement that is helping doctors detect autism right before birth.
He later joined Kagumo High School from 1972 to 1977 for his O-levels and A-levels. Kagwe would later join the University of Nairobi from 1978 to 1981, where he graduated with a Bachelor of Commerce degree insurance option. He took further studies at the United States International University from 1988 to 1992 and graduated with a master's degree in business management. Before Kagwe got into politics, he was into private business, running an independent publishing house as well as a public relations company. Between 1987 and 1989, he worked with the Standard Media Group's advertising department, where he rose to the position of commercial director. Kagwe's political journey began in the year 2002 when he became the 5th Member of Parliament for Mukurweini constituency in Nyeri County on a National Rainbow Coalition NAC party ticket. In the year 2005, President Mwai Kibaki appointed Kagwe to the cabinet as the Minister for Information, Communication and Technology. During the 2007 general election, Kagwe lost Mukurweini parliamentary seat to Kabando wa Kabst in Kenya. President Uhuru Kenyatta named Mutahi Kagwe the Cabinet Secretary for Health in a cabinet reshuffle. As the Health CS, Mutahi Kagwe is remembered for providing daily updates about the spread of the disease and his assurances that the government had put measures in place to curb any spread in Kenya. He is a recipient of the Elder of the Golden Jewel.
Nikiangalia kopo langu la saa na niarifu kwamba ni saa 2:13 saa za kanda ya Afrika Mashariki. Mahali popote ulipo, ni siku ya Jumanne, tarehe ni 6 mtazamaji. Tumesalia na siku moja kwa mchakato wa wale makadinali kule Vatican kuanza mchakato wa kumtafuta papa mpya. Asubuhi tulipokuwa tunapiga story na mwenzangu Dora Manya, tulitaja kuhusiana na papa. Msikilizaji mmoja akaja hewani akatuuliza, kwani baba anapigania kiti chengine tena? Jamani, ndugu zangu wa magharibi, kuna tofauti ya papa na baba. Sasa lakini kwa sasa mtazamaji, karibu sana kwenye Gumzo Pevu upande wa pili wa studio. Jina langu naitwa Rashid Momkondo, na kama vipi kuna mada tamu sana ambayo inaendelea upande wa pili ya kijamii, lakini kwanza tuangazie hili la umuhimu. Mtazamaji, mandhari ya usalama nchini Kenya siku za hivi karibuni yamekumbwa na misururu ya matukio ya kutamausha. Wiki jana mauaji ya kusikitisha ya mbunge wa Kasipul Kabondo Charles Ongondo Were yalisababisha mshtuko na hofu katika taifa, hasa miongoni mwa wanasiasa. Shambulizi hili la wazi lilizua wasiwasi mkubwa kuhusu usalama wa viongozi wa umma na hatari ya machafuko ya kisiasa nchini. Msikilizaji, mtazamaji, vile pia kumbuka hivi majuzi tu katika maeneo ya Ngata Barakoi na vile pia katika maeneo ya Narok, watu wasiopungua 10 waliweza kuuawa katika njia tatanishi, swala ambalo lilipelekea paka inspekta mkuu wa jenerali wa polisi kuagiza kuhamishwa kwa baadhi ya maafisa wa GSU katika maeneo yale. Msikilizaji, Jumapili tu hii katika kaunti ya Migori, wengi wanauliza, je, ni wapi ambapo pametoboka? Jamaa mmoja ama raia mmoja alirusha kiatu kilichokuwa na vumbi na kilimgonga kwenye chepeo yake rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya William Ruto. Hatua inaonyesha changamoto za kiusalama. Vile pia mtazamaji, ni hivi majuzi tu katika maeneo ya kaskazini mashariki kumekuwa na tishio kubwa kutoka kwa wanamgambo Al-Shabaab. Bado ni changamoto kubwa huko Mandera, vile pia kaunti ya Lamu. Mashambulizi kadhaa yamesababisha visa kadhaa vya uharibifu wa mali na vile pia mauti. Mtazamaji, kwa ujumla matukio haya yanaonyesha hali ya taifa linalopambana na changamoto za kiusalama ndani na nje, ambazo zinahitaji uangalizi wa haraka na mikakati ya kina. Leo studioni nina wageni kutuchangalia swala hili zima la usalama wa taifa. Ninaye mchanganuzi wa masuala ya kiusalama ndugu George Musamali, na vile pia ninaye ndugu Chris Otieno, ambao wote ni wataalamu ama wachanganuzi wa masuala ya kiusalama. Mpenzi mtazamaji, bila kupoteza nukta, sekunde wala dakika, Gumzo Pevu linaanza. Kumbuka, ni kipindi ambacho nakisikia kupitia KBC Radio Taifa Sauti ya Mkenya, na ni kipindi ambacho nakitizama kupitia runinga na enzi ya KBC Channel 1. Kwa hiyo ni ushirikiano kati wa redio na runinga. Karibu sana bwana George Msamali.
Asante sana ndugu.
Muda mrefu sana hatujaonana ndugu yangu. Natumai kwamba mzima ubuheri wa afya.
Mimi ni mzima, nashukuru.
Ndio. Tuzungumzie haya hayaishi.
Na nafikiri hali inazidi kuharibika zaidi, manake hayo yote ambayo umezungumzia, nafikiri rambirambi zangu kwa maafisa ambao walipoteza maisha yao kule Lamu. Hali kadhalika kwa jamii ambayo ilipoteza wapendo wao kule Narok. Manake haya ni mambo ambayo yangezuiliwa ikiwa tungekuwa ikiwa tungekuwa tumeweka mikakati ya kutosha usalama katika taifa la Kenya. Na kila kukicha tunaona vituko, visa vyatokea. Umezungumzia ya taifa kushtuliwa na kifo cha Bwana Were. Nafikiri Were manake ni mwanasiasa, ameangaziwa zaidi. Lakini ukiangalia kwa ujumla katika taifa la Kenya, kuna visa vingi vya mauaji ambavyo vimetokea, lakini havijaangaziwa na vyombo vya habari. Kwa hivyo je, swali ambalo tunajiuliza, pengo li wapi? Je, ni utepetevu katika vitengo vya usalama, au ni jitihada ambazo hazijawekwa na serikali kuhakikisha kwamba wananchi wanahakikishwa usalama wao wakati wanapoendelea na hali yao ya kawaida ya maisha?
Tuanze na kule pwani ya Kenya. Swala la usalama katika kaunti ya Lamu limezungumziwa miaka nenda miaka rudi, hususan katika msitu wa Boni kumradhi, na vile vile pia barabara ya kuelekea kule Lamu, na tumeona maafisa wa usalama wamekuwa wakifika kule kutathmini hali ya usalama. Utakumbuka kwamba waziri wa usalama Mheshimiwa Kipchumba Murkomen alikuwa na ziara ya siku 6 katika gatuzi ama katika mkoa wa Pwani. Vile vile pia sehemu za Likoni kuna vijana wa mapanga wanapiga watu mapanga sawa na Ukunda, sawa na Kisauni. Je, huenda ikawa tatizo ni asasi za kiusalama ama ni jamii?
Kwa kweli sidhani kwamba asasi za kiusalama kwa pekee wanaweza kabiliana na tatizo la usalama. Umezungumzia msitu wa Boni. Nilihudumu huko mwaka 1992.
Ndio.
Na hili ni jambo ambalo limekuwa kwa kipindi kirefu zaidi. Maana nakumbuka kambi za kwanza za vitengo vya usalama viliwekwa katika eneo hilo mwaka 1972. Kambi ya GSU katika eneo la Mkoe. Kuna kambi ya jeshi katika eneo la Baragoni. Na hali kadhalika vitengo vingine kadhaa vya usalama katika maeneo hayo. Na miaka ambayo sisi tulikuwa tukihudumu kule, tatizo lilikuwa wale tulikuwa tunaita bandits.
Ndio.
Na tuliweza kukabiliana nao. Kumbuka msitu wa Boni unaanzia eneo la Garseni, unafuliliza hadi Lamu, na kisha kuelekea katika mpaka wa Somali, ndani kwa ndani hadi Raskambon. Na hapa pamekuwa maficho, eneo la maficho kubwa la hawa ambao tulikuwa nawaita bandit. Na miaka hivi karibuni kikundi cha Al-Shabaab pia kiliingia katika msitu huo na kukita kambi. Na hili ni jambo ambalo limeleta changamoto kubwa, manake tuko na operesheni kadha wa kadha ambazo zimefanya katika eneo hilo, lakini operesheni hizi hazijazaa matunda. Na ni kumaanisha wazi ya kwamba kuna pengo ambalo hatujaliziba. Na kwa mtizamo wangu, manake mimi ni mtu ambaye nimehudumu katika eneo hilo, nikana kwamba kuna mvutano baina ya wananchi wa kawaida na asasi za kiusalama. Na kwa kawaida wakati wowote ambapo mnakabiliana na hali ya utovu wa usalama, ni lazima wananchi washirikishwe katika heka zile. Na hili ni jambo ambalo hatujafaulu kulifanya katika taifa la Kenya. Kwamba tunaita ile inaitwa popular intelligence, ya kwamba hawa wananchi wanaweza shirikiana na vitengo vya usalama na kutoa habari kuhusu uhalifu ambao unaendelea katikati ya jamii hizo. Na hili ndilo jambo ambalo tumeliona kule Lamu, na hali kadhalika kule Mombasa. Unapata kwamba jamii haijashirikishwa kikamilifu na vita dhidi ya magenge ambayo yamejitokeza hivi sasa, haya magenge ya mapanga. Manake hawa hawatoki bara,
kweli
ni vijana wa pale, wanajulikana, wanatambulika, wanashirikiana na jamii. Na imekuwa ni vipi kwamba imekuwa vigumu jamii kuweza kutoa habari kwa vyombo vya usalama? Imekuwa ni vipi kwamba jamii imekuwa ni vigumu kutoa habari kwa vyombo vya dola kuhusiana na magenge haya na kuweza kuwatambua ili wakamatwe na kufunguliwa mashtaka? Na utakuja upate kwamba kuna siasa kidogo katika swala hili nzima. Manake ukiongea na maafisa wa polisi katika maeneo hayo, pindi tu wanapowakamata hawa vijana, wanasiasa huingia ndani na kusema la, hili si jambo ambalo lafaa kutendeka, mnawadhulumu hawa vijana. Kwa hivyo wanaweka mbinu zote za kuweza kufanya kwamba hawa vijana waweze kuachiliwa. Kwa hivyo hatuwezi vilaumu vitengo vya usalama kwa ujumla, lakini nafikiri hili ni tatizo ambalo ni lazima litatuliwe na jamii nzima kwa ujumla, si kule pwani peke yake, lakini katika taifa la Kenya kwa ujumla.
Bila shaka mtazamaji, ni ufunguzi wake ndugu George Musamali, mtaalamu wa masuala ya kiusalama, ikiwa hivi sasa ni saa 2:20 saa za kanda ya Afrika Mashariki. Unayosikiliza ni KBC Radio Taifa, sauti ya Mkenya. Kipindi ni Zinga Kikenya, na ndani ya studio za Channel 1 upande huu mimi naitwa Rashid Mwamkondo, kule yupo Dora Manya, na kwa sasa tumejiunga naye vile vile pia ndugu Chris Otieno ambaye ni mchanganuzi na mtaalamu wa masuala ya kiusalama kiusalama. Karibu bwana Chris.
Asante.
Waswahili wanasema kawia lakini ufike na umefika.
Asante.
Na hata hatujaenda mbali sana, ndo kwanza tumeanza mkoko unaalika maua, na tulikuwa tunajaribu kuzungumza hapa na ndugu George Msamali kuhusiana na matukio kadha wa kadha ya utovu wa usalama ambao tumeyaona. Tuliona kule Narok kilichotokea, tumeona kule Lamu kilichotokea, tumeona kule Angata Barakoe kilichotokea, na hivi juzi katika barabara ya Ngong majira ya saa 1:30 usiku ambapo kiongozi mbunge anapigwa risasi na watu wanakimbia. Sijui kwa tathmini yako ya kiufupi tu usalama unaweza ukasemaje kuhusiana na matukio haya ambayo tumeyaona?
Kuhusiana na matukio haya, kile ambacho ningependa kusema ni kwamba tunaona siku baada ya siku kwamba usalama katika nchi yetu unadorora. Na kuna sababu nyingi sana kwa sababu usalama kudorora. Ya kwanza tunaona kwamba kuna maagizo nyingi sana, kuna promises ambazo tumepatiwa na viongozi wetu. Na hii promises nyingi sana hazijaanza kutimika. Kwa hivyo jambo kama hizi zinasukuma wananchi sana kwa upande tofauti. Kama ni vijana, utakuta kwamba vijana wanaketi katika kusanyiko, wanatengeneza kile data genge, na ile genge inaweza tumika for hire. Wanaweza kulipwa na wakaweza kutenda kile ambacho wameagizwa kutenda. Na hizi zote tunaona kwamba ni kwa sababu uchumi umekuwa ngumu sana. Kila mtu analia uchumi left right center. Pia kuna vitu vingine ambavyo mwenzangu amesemea, ningependa kugusia kidogo. Nikusema kwamba ile ushirikiano kati ya wananchi na polisi bado haipo katika ile kiwango tungependa iwe. Iko chini sana. Wananchi hawana kuamini polisi. Na polisi pia wako na shida zao nyingi sana. For example, mental issues. Wako na shida nyingi sana. Morali yao iko chini. Ukija pande wa uongozi tunaona kwamba kuna pia uongozi ambao hawapangi kazi ya security namna inapaswa kupangwa. Pande wa uongozi wa polisi. Tuliona juzi mahali rais alikuwa kile ambacho kilitendeka. Tumeona yule yule mwanabunge mheshimiwa kupigwa risasi, na yule ambaye mlinzi wake hana jibu lolote ila kujificha mambo mingi. Na tukiona pia upande wa kile umesema Laikipia na kwingine, tunaona kwamba polisi wanaenda katika operesheni ambayo si operesheni ambayo inahitaji kubeba risasi, lakini wanabeba risasi. Kwa hivyo unajiuliza haswa shida yetu kama nchi iko wapi? Tunaona kwamba ni uongozi na namna ya kupanga kazi. Tunadorora kidogo, kuna uzembe, kuna uzoefu. Haipangwi kazi kulingana kile ambacho tunaita risk ama risk ile ambayo iko pale katika uwanja wa kutenda kazi. So kuna vitu vingi sana ambavyo vinahusu nchi yetu. Inapaswa tuketi chini, vitengo vyote tuketi tukaangalie namna haswa kile tunaweza fanya ili tuweze kurudisha hizo zote katika.
Kuna kitu bwana Msamali aligusia kwamba siasa wakati mwingine pia walinatiwa ndani ya swala hili la usalama. Hivi majuzi tumekuwa tukiona aliyekuwa naibu rais Rigathi Gachagua akilalama, hasa akaandika paka kwa inspector mkuu wa general wa polisi, na tumeona yale matukio katika mikutano ambayo ameenda mengine paka ndani ya makanisa. Na hivi majuzi ulimsikia waziri wa usalama Kipchumba Murkomen akisema kwamba wanasiasa watakaohusika watachukuliwa hatua. Na juzi kule Angata Barakoe uliona inspector general yuko pale na wanasiasa wako pale wakiongozwa na kiongozi walio wengi katika bunge la Seneti Aaron Cheruiyot. Je, matukio ya utovu wa usalama katika taifa letu la Kenya siku za hivi karibuni yanachangiwa na siasa na wanasiasa?
Kweli inachangiwa na wanasiasa kwa njia nyingi sana. Na hivi majuzi kusikia wale ambao wanasema, utasikia wakisema kwamba kama uko katika kitengo fulani cha siasa, kuna vile hicho kitengo kinafikiria. Inabidi ukiwa pale pia wewe ufikirie namna wanafikiria. Otherwise usikie namna hiyo, utatukana kwamba wewe ni mpinzani wa wale ambao. Na pia tunaona katika nchi yetu structure ni kwamba wale viongozi, for example, commander in chief, commander mkuu katika jeshi la Kenya na mwanasiasa. Wale zile position ambazo tunaona ziko katika nchi yetu, they are political appointments. For example, IG na zingine. Kwa hivyo inawabidi wafuate yale ambao wanasiasa wanasema. Lakini rais inakuwa mikono yao imefungwa kabisa.
Lakini rais alisema kwamba kitengo cha polisi kiko huru wakati akiapishwa pale Kasarani.
Hiyo ni kweli alisema. Lakini katika utendakazi tuona vipi? Tuona tofauti. Wanasiasa wanatoa instructions. Kitambo kidogo tulimuona yule alikuwa CSL anasema kwamba hiyo polisi nimetoa instructions akwe transferred katika kwenda mahali pengine.
Susan Nahumisha.
Uliona kile ambacho alisema. Hicho kile wengine wetu tulikuwa kama tunashinda uongozi wa ulinzi wa nchi yetu waelekea pande gani. Tunafaa tuwe na ulinzi, tunafaa tuwe na viongozi ambao wako independent, wanafanya kila ambacho wanafikiria, lakini wanazingatia sheria ama kanuni za nchi yetu. Lakini hiyo tujiona kwa muda mrefu sana. Wanasiasa wamekuwa katika kiwango cha mbele kuwapa wale wana security instructions nyingi sana. Na unajua ikiwa ni mkubwa, sisi tunasema chain of command. Kama ni mkubwa amekupa instructions katika uniform lazima ufuate. Ukikosa uweza, kama ni jeshi uweza kuenda katika kile tunaita what do we call it, court martial na vitu kama hivyo. So unakuta kwamba viongozi wa security nchi yetu mikono yao imefungwa kabisa. Wanajua kile ambacho wanafanya, lakini uongozi unasema tofauti.
Bwana George Musamali, wanakubaliana na kauli kwamba idara ya kiusalama nchini Kenya haiko huru, inathibitiwa na wanasiasa?
Hilo ni jambo ambalo walifai tulizungumzia sasa.
Liko wazi,
ni jambo ambalo tumelizungumzia kwa kipindi kirefu. Nafikiri nimekuja hapa mara kadhaa nikizungumzia hilo swala. Na nakumbuka 2010 katiba mpya tuliizundua. Na katika katiba mpya tulisema tuwe na huduma ya polisi ambayo iko huru. Na tulibadilisha tu jina kutoka katika kikosi cha polisi. Waona? Tukasema Inspector Generali lazima ateuliwe kwa njia ambayo itakuwa ni wazi. Na kwamba kuna jopo ambalo litamteua na kisha aapishwe. Sina rais bali na mahakama kuu, registrar of the high court, of the Supreme Court ama high court. Lakini haya mambo yote ambayo tuliyaweka, mikakati ambayo tuliyoweka, na sababu ya kusema kwamba tuwe na mabadiliko hayo ni mambo ambayo tulishuhudia mwaka 2007 na 2008. Yale mapigano ya ndani kwa ndani. Na katika ile Kriegler report, Waki report na Ramsley report zote zilisema ya kwamba ni lazima tuwe na huduma ya polisi ambayo itakuwa huru. 2014 hawa wanasiasa walirudi kwenye bunge na kubadilisha na kuweka ile tunaita security bills ambazo tulizipinga, na zile security bills zilisema kwamba haitakuwako rais kwamba tuwe na Inspector Generali ambaye hawajibiki kwa rais. Waona? Naibu Inspector Generali ambaye hawajibiki kwa rais. Manake huduma ya polisi imekuwa ni chombo ambacho kimekuwa kikutumika na wanasiasa kwa minajili ya kisiasa zao. Kujinufaisha kisiasa. Na baada ya kubadilisha pale, nafikiri tulikuwa kuna Inspector Generali mmoja peke yake ambaye aliteuliwa kulingana na katiba ya kwa mujibu wa katiba ya mwaka 2010, Bwana Kimaiyo. Tukawa na naibu Inspector Generali Bwana Arachi katika APS, na tukawa na Grace Kahindi katika KPS. Waona, hao waliteuliwa. Walitoka kivipi? Walisukumwa watoke. Kimaiyo alijiuzulu, Grace Kahindi pia akalazimishwa kujiuzulu, Arachi alistaafu. Ona, maana hao wanasiasa hawakuwa radhi tuwe na huduma ya polisi ambayo haiwajibiki kwa wanasiasa. Na hili ndilo tatizo kaka ambalo linatufikisha pale tulipo. Jambo ambalo liliona kule Kehancha ni jambo ambalo linachangiwa na kuingiza siasa katika huduma. Manake kwa kawaida huwa na mipangilio ya ulinzi wa rais. Kuna miviringo kadha wa kadha ambao huwekwa kabla hujamfikia rais. Lakini utapata kwamba mtukufu rais manake akata naenda kuhutubia hadhara, anasema wachana na hawa wananchi. Ile hali mikakati, mipango ilikuwa imewekwa ya kwamba ulinzi utakuwa katika style hii. Lakini manake wewe ambao umewekwa pale na mwana siasa, na ukikiuka amri yake basi itabidi uondolewe. Kwa hivyo inakuwa ni bora afya sinipo basi nalipo mshahara. Ukiangalia tukio ambalo lilitokea la Bwana Were, ni kwamba malalamishi yamekuwa mengi kuhusiana na yeye kibinafsi, vitendo vyake, familia zalia. Lakini mikono ya polisi imefungwa, manake hakuna polisi ambaye anamkamata. Nilisikitika sana kusikia yule mwanadada, yule mama alisema kwamba alirarua ile statement mbele ya OCS kuweka pale na kisha kuondoka. Hakuna hatua ambayo ilichukuliwa. Basi vile Bwana Otieno amesema pale, kuna msukumo fulani kutoka kwa wananchi kwamba ikiwa hatutapata ulinzi kutoka kwa vyombo vya dola, hatutapata ulinzi kutoka kwa polisi, basi itabidi tuchukue silaha tuweke kwa mikono zetu ili sisi wenyewe tuweze kujilinda. Siasa katika huduma. Ukiangalia lile jambo ambalo lilifanyika kule Narok, ni kwamba wanasiasa walimzomea Inspector Generali hapo kwa hapo akiwa ameketi. Ilhali tatizo ambalo liko pale ni la kioperesheni ambalo linahusu maafisa wa polisi. Hatuwezi kusema kwa sasa manake uchunguzi unaendelea ni nini kilichojiri. Lakini ikiwa mimi ni afisa polisi, ninaambiwa kwamba kuna zile justifiable instances ambazo zitaniruhusu kutumia silaha. Mimi nilimwona afisa wa polisi akiwa na mshale kwenye kichwa. Je, ulitarajia yule afisa afanye nini? Kwa hivyo ushirikiano baina ya raia na polisi kiungo muhimu kuhakikisha usalama katika taifa hili. Tusipoziba hilo pengo, kaka, tutakuwa tunalizungumzia haya, tutazungumzia vijana wa mapanga, tutazungumzia siasa katika huduma, lakini hali itabaki ile ile. Rasilimali kwa huduma, tumewapa maafisa wa polisi rasilimali za kutosha? Nakumbuka wakati rais aliapishwa alisema ya kwamba nimechukua hela za polisi zote nimeziweka chini ya mikono ya Inspector Generali. Kwa kweli nikikueleza ukweli, manake mimi utangamana na maafisa, zile hela hazipo. Maafisa walioko kule Lamu hawajalipwa zile allowances zao kwa kipindi kirefu sana. Kwa hivyo ile morali ya maafisa wa polisi pia iko chini. Na kwa kweli ikiwa mimi nitatekeleza wajibu na niambiwe kwamba umehamishwa bila uchunguzi wote kufanywa, manake ni usemi tu, ni kumaanisha kwamba pia mimi kama afisa wa polisi naona kuna dhuluma. Ona, na itafika wakati ambapo maafisa wa polisi watasema ni sawa, mshahara wa kuja, mimi nipo.
Okay. Mtazamaji, ni 31 dakika baada ya saa 2 kukufahamisha tu maoni yanayotolewa na wageni wangu hapa ndani ya studio ni maoni yao binafsi, wala sio maoni ya shirika la utangazaji nchini KBC, runinga ya KBC Channel 1 wala KBC Radio Taifa, lakini ni maoni yao binafsi kama Wakenya na kama wachanganuzi. Ndani ya studio ninao wachanganuzi wa masuala ya kiusalama, ndugu George Musamali na Chris Otieno. Nirudi kwako bwana Chris. Tuliangazia usalama pwani ya Kenya na amelichambua vizuri, lakini hebu tuangalie vile pia ukosefu wa usalama maeneo ya kaskazini mashariki. Kila kuchao mambo yako vile. Je, ni mbinu tunashindwa ama ni vipi?
Kuna vitu vingi sana ambavyo ningependa kusema upande wa nchi yetu. Ya kwanza ni kwamba tangu pia mimi nizaliwe, hilo shida limekuwa nchi yetu. Na bado niko hai, na shida liko pale. Lakini tunaona kwamba hii serikali ambayo iko wakati huu imejaribu kutumia mbinu nyingi sana. Ya kwanza wamejaribu ile kuwahusisha wale tunaita community members na community leaders. Na tumeona kwamba kumekuwa na kiwango kidogo wameweza kupata kile tunaita success. Lakini ukirudi upande wa operation, kitambo kidogo tuliona katika mitandao ya jamii na hizo zingine zikisema kwamba wanasiasa ndio wanasafiria silaha, wanasiasa fulani wanasafirisha silaha kupeleka mahali ambapo kuna shida. Hilo ni jambo la kutukela roho. Na pia natuambia kwamba ni baina kwamba wale ambao wanahusika na kufanya jambo liwe pale ni wanasiasa. Pia ukirudi upande wa maendeleo, tunajua kwamba ukosefu wa maendeleo ndio sana hatari kubwa ambayo inasababisha ukosefu wa usalama. Kama hakuna maendeleo, utakuwa na ukosefu wa usalama. Ukiangalia maeneo ya nchi yetu, maendeleo haipo. Nimetembea kule na for example ya NGOs. Na kila ambacho nimeona katika ile inakushtua sana. Watoto wanaenda shule ambapo kuna chakula. Waona? Hilo si jambo la kufurahiwa. Kila mtoto anafaa kuwa na elimu ya bure ama anafaa kuelimishwa ama mipango sambamba ambayo inawaweza watoto wetu kwenda shule. Pia ukiangalia upande wa kile tunaita arms, silaha, tunaona kwamba katika boda yetu na nchi ambayo nchi jirani, boda yetu haina usalama, haina ile ulinzi wa kiwango ambayo
hususan Somalia na Ethiopia.
Somalia, Ethiopia, hata wenzetu Uganda, lakini si vyema kutaja nchi kwa sababu vitu vingi. Unaona kwamba hizi tunaita small arms zinatembea sana baina ya nchi yetu na wengine. Nyingi zinakuja pande hii. Na wale ambao wanaishi pale, ile silaha ambao wako nayo inashinda ile silaha polisi wetu wako nayo ama ulinzi wa usalama. Unakuta yule yako na for example AK47 na M16 na huyu hapa ako na G3. Silaha hiyo tofauti sana kulingana na uwezo wao, tofauti sana. Kwa hivyo utakuta kwamba wenzetu pande wa usalama pande wanza kulemewa na nini na kile tunaita silaha. Kingine ni terrain. Wala ambao wanaishi kule wanajua sana kile kinaweza kufanyika. Namna ile mtaa imepangwa. Bora kile kilifanyika Baragoi. Unaona kwamba askari wetu walikuwa chini, wale bands walikuwa juu. Na kumimina ni sasa vile walimimina. Kwa hivyo tunasema kwamba kuna vitu vingi sana inafaa tufanye upande wa nchi yetu na tuweze kuzingatia kabisa chanzo cha hili jambo na tuweze kuangalia suluhisho litakuwa ni lini. Na hiyo lazima tuishe jamii, tuishe kila mtu pale. Na tuweze kupeleka maendeleo upande wa Kenya yetu. Tukifanya vitu kama hivyo utakuta kwamba usalama utaenda wa hali wa juu. Na tunaweza kupunguza jambo kama hizi kwa kina kubwa sana.
Nirudi kwako bwana George Musamali. Swala la kiusalama ni tata sana na ni muhimu katika taifa letu la Kenya. Tuzungumzie sasa usalama wa kijamii. Mara kadhaa nadhani pia nyinyi ni mashahidi, tumeona katika mpaka kati ya Kisii nadhani huwa na Kisumu kuna eneo maarufu pale watu penda kupigana sana na mpaka mauaji yanatokea. Vile vile pia tukienda maeneo ya Laikipia huwa kuna vitu kama hivyo vinafanyika. Tukienda maeneo ya Baringo, juzi nilimsikia spika wa bunge la kitaifa Moses Masika Wetangula, wabunge wa Baringo walipokuwa wanalalamika kuhusiana na usalama, aliwaambia saizi mnaenda recess, ni jukumu lenu, hata age yenu na wale vijana wanaofanya utovu wa usalama iko sawa, mnaweza waongelesha, msisubiri mpaka maafisa wa polisi waende kule. Haya matukio yanaashiria nini?
Kwa kweli ni kukosekana kwa mbinu. Manake ama si mbinu, manake tunatumia mbinu ile tunaita strategy. Hatuna strategy ya kukabiliana na haya matatizo. Manake yamekuwa kwa jadi. Vita umezungumzia kule Sondu, ambapo kuna vita katika mpaka baina ya Wajaluo na Kipsigis. Ukikuja kule sehemu za Transmara, Kilgoris, kuna malumbano baina ya Wakisii na Wamasai. Ukiteremka chini kule Kuria, hali kadhalika malumbano baina ya Wakuria na Wajaluo. Ukija kule kwetu Mount Elgon, Wabukusu na Wasabaot. Tukienda Baringo, Wamarakwet, Watugen, Wapokot na Waturkana. Kwa kipindi kirefu sana tumezungumzia. Tumekuwa tukitumia mbinu. Kila wakati tunapeleka wanajeshi kule, tunasema tunafanya operesheni. Tumefika kiwango tunasema ya kwamba tunaajiri maafisa wa polisi wa akiba, KPR. Na hivi juzi tu umesikia Murkomen akisema nini? Ya kwamba wapigwe msasa tena. Manake hawaaminiki. Kila mtu akipewa silaha anaegemea upande wa kabila lake. Hatujafanya utafiti. Utafiti umefanywa wa kutosha, si ati hatujafanya. Tumefanya utafiti wa kutosha na tunajua vita vinasababishwa na nini. Upiganaji wa rasilimali katika maeneo haya. Na pia swala la siasa pia limeingia, ambapo unapata wanasiasa wanasema ya kwamba hawa wameingia ndani ya mipaka yetu. Mipaka yenu ndani ya taifa la Kenya. Mbona tuwe na mipaka ndani ya taifa la Kenya? Na je, hizi rasilimali ambazo tunazipigania ni zipi? Manake tuzungumzie hili swala. Na ikiwa hatutaweza kukabiliana na hilo tatizo, na haya matatizo yote ambayo tunayazungumzia hivi sasa ni ukosaji wa maendeleo katika maeneo hayo. Haya maeneo hayajafunguliwa. Pesa ambazo zinapatikana unasikia wanasema za National Government CDF zinatumika kiholela na hawa wabunge, hazileti maendeleo katika jamii. Na inakuwa kwamba ni jamii mbinu ambayo wanayo peke yake ya kuweza kujinufaisha ama kujiendeleza, basi ni kutumia nguvu kuweza kuibia jamii hii na kupeleka katika jamii hii. Kule kwetu Mount Elgon tunapigania, tunasema ya kwamba kuna kikundi fulani ambacho kimetendekezwa zaidi ya wale wengine. Rasilimali zote zikija katika maeneo hayo yanapelekewa watu fulani. Kama ni kuajiriwa katika kazi, inaenda katika jamii fulani. Inabidi jamii ile nyingine ione ya kwamba ni kana kwamba wao si wa Kenya. Na ndipo unasikia Bwana Masika akiambia wabunge, nendeni mketi chini na jamii zenu, mzungumze, muwalete pamoja na muweze kutumia rasilimali ambazo zinatoka katika serikali kuu kunufaisha jamii zote katika maeneo hayo. Hili ndilo jambo ambalo limekuwa ni kidonda sugu katika taifa la Kenya. Ndio maana unaona vita ambavyo tumeviona ambapo polisi wametumia silaha na kuua watu 5 ni vita vya kirasilimali. Manake wanasema hili shamba ni letu. Tulipewa stakabadhi. Ni vipi mtu anakuja na kusema kwamba analidai lile shamba? Waona? Lakini mbinu ambayo ilitumika kukabiliana na hilo tatizo ndio mbinu mbovu ambayo ilisababisha maafa kwa maafisa wa polisi na hali kadhalika kwa wananchi. Waona? Kwa hivyo hapa katika taifa letu haya matatizo yote ambayo tunayazungumzia ya kiusalama katika maeneo ni matatizo ambayo yanaweza kutatuliwa kwa mbinu ya mazungumzo. Na tuweze kusema kwamba rasilimali tuzigawanye kiusawa katika jamii zote. Na kisha yale matatizo ambayo yatabaki madogo madogo, manake huwezi kosa mhalifu mmoja hapa wala pale. Hawa wahalifu sasa tuwape vyombo vya dola, tuwape maafisa wa polisi waweze kwamba kuwakamata na kuwafungulia mashtaka. Lakini hali ilivyo hivi sasa, manake mwanasiasa kumzomea Inspector Generali mbele ya umma ni jambo la kusikitisha. Na ni jambo ambalo linaua ile morali ya maafisa wa polisi, kwamba sasa sisi hapa ni wanasiasa ndio kusema. Na ndio jambo ambalo unaona limechangia pakubwa kila kukicha mambo tofauti, changamoto tofauti za kiusalama zinatokea. Umezungumzia kaskazini mashariki. Hivi sasa tuko na operesheni ondoa jangili. Je, umejiuliza wale jangili wamekuwa kwa pale kwa kipindi kipi? Paka wakakita kambi katika eneo la Sololo. Hawa watu ambao tunaita OLA. Uwezi niambia kwamba wale wanasiasa na wananchi wa katika maeneo hao hawakuwa wanafahamu ili tatizo ili liweze kutatuliwa awali. Ukija katika mpaka wetu Kenya na Somalia, tulisema tunatengeneza ukuta kuzuia kuvuka wale Al-Shabaab kuingia Kenya. Rasilimali zilitoka, fedha zilitoka, zilienda wapi? Kwa hivyo ufisadi pia unachangia pakubwa kuzorora kwa usalama katika taifa la Kenya.
Bila shaka mtazamaji, ni jambo la kusikitisha, si jambo la kufurahia. Miaka 61 tangu tupate uhuru, tulitumia nguvu nyingi kumuondoa mzungu kwa hali na mali, lakini sasa tunaondoana wenyewe kwa wenyewe. Ni jambo la kusikitisha. Nirudi kwako Bwana Chris Otieno. Je, kwa maoni yenu ni mageuzi gani ya dharura yanafaa kufanywa katika sekta ya usalama humu nchini ili kuzuia kuendelea kwa matukio kama yale ambayo tunayaona?
Jambo la kwanza ni kutafuta tofauti kubwa sana kati ya siasa na ulinzi. Katika jeshi tunasema kwamba hawezi ingiza siasa katika jeshi. Lakini mara nyingi tumeona Chief of General Staff akiongelea maneno ambao wengi sana wamesema hii ni siasa. Umeona? Kwa hivyo kitu cha kwanza na cha kina ni tutafute namna tunaweza tofautisha siasa na uongozi wa usalama. Tukiweza kupata njia nzuri sana ya kuonyesha vitu viwili, basi tunaweza kuwa tunaona kitu kimoja ambacho kinaweza kusaidia kuboresha usalama wa nchi yetu. Ya pili ni mafunzo. Mafunzo ambayo ningezingatia mimi mwenyewe ni kusema mafunzo ya uongozi. Sana sana tumeona kwamba viongozi wengi sana katika nchi yetu ya usalama wamekuwa na shida tofauti. Na kabla niende hapo, tunakuta kwamba viongozi wengi sana ambao wamechaguliwa kulingana na siasa kuongoza usalama, wao wenyewe si wana usalama. So unakuta kwamba mara nyingi hawana ile mwelekeo ambaye yule ambaye ako na experience katika security ama usalama angeweza kuleta katika ile uongozi. Kingine ni wale ambao ni morali ya wale ambao wanadumisha usalama nchi. Vile mwenzangu amesema na vile pia ningependa kusingia kwamba morali ya wenzetu katika ulinzi na usalama nchi yetu huko chini sana. Tumeona juzi Garissa mwanasiasa kimzomea bwana OCS kwa njia ambayo sio njia nzuri kabisa. Hata mimi wakati niliona ile ukanda nilisikia uchungu.
Nazungumzia kuhusiana na Isiolo, gavana
Isiolo sorry. Yes, ni Isiolo. Asante kwa marekebisho. Ile ilikuwa jambo nzuri sana. Mbele ya wale ambao unaongoza si nzuri. Tunajua kwamba hata katika jamii, katika familia, mama na mzee wako sana, lazima wapate kuongea kule kando, si mbele ya watu. Pia kuna ile inaita ushirikiano. Ni vyema tafuta ushirikiano wa hali ya juu sana na tuweze kupunguza tofauti ya wananchi na polisi, ili wananchi waweze kuona kwamba ni jukumu lao kuwapatia walinzi wa usalama ile habari ambao wanahitaji ili kuweza kutekeleza kazi yao kwa njia ambayo inafana kwa hali ya juu. Lakini tunaona kila kikuchao tofauti kati ya watu wawili lazidi kuwa kubwa sana. Kwa sababu nini? Polisi wameenda pale wafanya extrajudicial killing. Wananchi wanatoa malalamishi nyingi sana na hakuna mahali kesi kama hiyo inaenda. Kwa hivyo unakuta kwamba ile tofauti unazidi kuwa kubwa kila siku. Right? Kingine ni community policing. Ni vyema sana tuwe na mpangilio mwema ambayo si kwa kusema peke yake. Na community policing tumeongea kwa muda mrefu sana nchi yetu ya Kenya. Muda mrefu sana, lakini hatujaweza kuidumisha na hatujaweza kuleta kiwango ambacho tunasema kwamba our community policing iko nzuri. Kwa hivyo ni vyema tuketi chini. Na tunaona kwamba wakati kiongozi mmoja alikuwa Nakuru, Muraguri. Alifanya kazi nzuri sana. Alijaribu juu chini kuleta polisi na wananchi katika kiwango nzuri sana. Wangeshindana kucheza mpira, wangefanya ambayo inawaleta jamii pamoja. Lakini tunaona initiative kama hiyo kutoka kwa viongozi wengine. Wengine waketi pale wameshaketi na kungoja kufanya mambo vingine. Kingine ni kile mwenzangu amesema, corruption. Unajua nimeenda pale katika police station ama kitengo cha usalama nikitaka usaidizi. Lakini ikibidi kwamba nilipe na nipate usaidizi, hata mimi mwenyewe nanikera roho. Nasikia uchungu sana. Na unaona kinasema utumishi kwa wote. Hawezi kuwa unasema utumishi kwa wote na ni utumishi kwa fedha. Waona? Tofauti nyingi sana. Kwa hivyo tuko na vitu vingi sana ambavyo vinafaa vilainishwe katika nchi yetu ya Kenya ili tuweze kusema kwamba kiwango chetu cha usalama kiko juu na tunaweza kulinganisha na nchi ambazo ziko katika ile data first world of right?
Hii mada ni pana sana. Kuna mengi hapa ya kuzungumzwa, lakini naofia muda wangu ndio huo tena. Nirudi kwako Bwana George Msama, labda tujaribu tuangalie kama hizi dakika 15 tutajaribu kukava yale yale ambayo tumeyabakisha. Haya yote yanayotokea, na tukiangalia bajeti kubwa sana huwa inaenda katika idara za kiusalama na ulinzi. Je, watu wanauliza NIS iko wapi haya yote yanayotokea wakati wao upata bajeti kubwa zaidi, bwana Musamali?
Kwa kweli hilo ni jambo ambalo linatukera sisi. Manake matukio yote ambayo yanatokea ni lazima yawe yamepigwa darubini na kitengo hicho cha NIS. Na tukio kama lile tuliona kule Kehancha. Wakati wa huduma nikiwa pale, tulikuwa tunatuma ile tunaita advance party. Timu ya hapo wanaenda pale awali, wiki mbili kabla ya rais kuzuru.
Ndio.
Na wanafanya ujasusi, wanapata habari, je, wananchi hapa wana hisia gani kuhusiana na rais?
Yes.
Safari ya rais wanahisia ipi? Waona? Na kisha wanakuja na ile inaitwa operational plan. Na katika ile operational plan inahusisha asasi zote za kiusalama. Na je, ni kujaribu kusema ya kwamba hakukuwa na habari ya za awali ya kwamba wale wananchi wako pale watamzomea rais? Tuje katika hali ya usalama katika maeneo tofauti. Yale mauaji ambayo tulishuhudia kule Lamu. Wakati maafisa wa polisi wa SOG walipovamiwa na wale wanamgambo wa Al-Shabaab. Hilo ni jukumu la NIS kwamba wawe wamepenya ile jamii na kuweza kutoa habari kuhusiana na mienendo ya wale wanamgambo. Ili kuwezesha maafisa wa polisi wa operesheni kufanya mipango mwafaka ya kuweza kukabiliana na wale wanamgambo. Hilo halipo. Twende pwani, Mapanga Boys. Wajasusi hawana habari, hawajapenya ile ngome hawa vijana ili waingie ndani yao waweze kutoa habari kwa vitengo vya usalama kwamba tunamjua Rashid, tunamjua Otieno, tunamjua George, ndiye kiongozi wa hiki kikundi na anahusika katika namna moja wala nyingine. Tumeifanya kazi ya NIS kama kazi nyingine yoyote ya ofisi. Hawapo katika kila maeneo. Ukipata kwamba kuna kijana ambaye ameajiriwa NIS, ametumwa aende afanye collection kule Mathare, anaishi Lavington. Ni wakati gani atapata zile habari kuhusiana na magenge ambayo yanafanya kazi kule Mathare? Mauaji ya Bwana Were yaliashiriwa. Manake NIS, ikiwa mbunge amesema maisha yangu yako hatarini, ni jukumu lao kuweza kupenya na kujua je, ni nani ambaye anapanga mipango kama hii. Na ni vipi? Manake tutawalaumu wale walinzi, lakini ukweli ni kwamba mwalifu akikupangia huwa dakika 2 mbele ya vyombo vya usalama. 2 minutes. Manake tuna zile hatua 5 za kupanga uhalifu kama ule. Hatua ya kwanza ni target identification. Tunamtambua ni fulani tunamtaka. Tunamfanyia inaitwa target surveillance. Second, na katika target surveillance hapo ndipo utatuona. Tutatembea pale bunge, unasikia alibadilisha magari, walijua vipi ya kwamba magari yamebadilishwa? Manake walikuwa wamefanya ile target surveillance. Na hapa ndipo NIS inakuja to break, unaona, ile ability ya watu kufanya hiyo target surveillance. Unaona? Kwa hivyo hizi rasilimali ambazo tunaziweka katika NIS, hatusemi wafanye kazi. Manake majukumu yao ukiangalia katika katiba ni kwamba waangalie masuala ya usalama, ile unaitwa physical security of the country, waangalie economic security of the country, waangalie food security. Haya mambo yote, social security, iko chini ya NIS. Lakini hatuwaoni, hatuwafili. Ndio manake unaona haya mambo yote ambayo yanatokea. Nakumbuka enzi zetu kulikuwa kuna wale wanaitwa special branch. Haraka sana ukijaribu kulifanya jambo ambalo ni kinyume na sheria, wale wengine tunaambiwa bana, eneo fulani kuna uchochezi unaendelea katika eneo hilo, tafadhali chukueni hatua za haraka. Kuna kikundi ambacho kinaitwa Mungiki ambacho kinafanya kazi hivi na hivi, uongozi wake ni huu. Tafadhali fikeni pale mara moja, mchukue hatua. Kuna Gaza kule Kayole, tumewapenya na tunawajua jinsi wanavyofanya kazi zao, lakini hivi sasa hilo ndilo pengo ambalo lipo.
Shikilia hapo Bwana George Musamali ametaja special branch, akanikumbusha kipindi cha Rais Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. Lakini pia Bwana Musamali, nitarudi kwako baadaye, lakini kwa sasa pia kuna kikosi kizuri, sijui kama bado kiko, Reke Squad.
Manake kazi ya Reke ni tofauti. Manake Reke ni wale tunaita muscle men. Kwamba tayari tumeona hatari ipo, tumewapa habari za kijasusi, wao ni kwenda kutekeleza tu ile operesheni, kuwakamata ama waangamiza wale magaidi.
Shikilia hapo. Nirudi kwako Bwana Chris Otieno. Je, unahisi kwamba ni wakati muafaka wa jeshi la Kenya kutumika katika usalama wa ndani, kwa sababu ni kama maafisa wa polisi wamezidiwa nguvu?
Hapana. Hatuwezi kutumia jeshi la taifa katika usalama wa ndani. Bado tuko na polisi na kuna vitengo vingi sana katika polisi.
Ndio.
Na ambao wanafanya kazi kwa njia nzuri. Na kuangalia kile ambacho kimefanyika nchi yetu ya Kenya, itakuwa ni sawa kusema kwamba NIS wafanye kazi. Lakini kuna vile ambavyo hatujui kunaita classified information ambayo NIS wameweza kuleta katika upeo wa uongozi na imeweza kuzuia vitu vingi sana. Right? Lakini tukitumia kile ambacho kimefanyika katika nchi yetu in the public domain, tunasema kwamba yes, this guy is probably hafanyi kazi kwa njia nzuri. Lakini kwa upande wa polisi tunakuta kwamba kila wakati polisi wanafanya kazi, hakuwezi kosa lawama hapa na pale. Na tumeketi hapa tumesema mara nyingi sana kwamba hiyo lawama tunaweza kusema kwamba chanzo chake ni hili ama chanzo chake ni hili. Right? Na kuna chanzo vingi sana ambazo sababu polisi wanafanya. Lakini kuja katika utenda kazi wa polisi, tunasema kwamba ndio wako na uwezo. Tuko na teknolojia katika Afrika nzima, karibu Afrika nzima, tuko na the best forensic laboratory hapa nchi yetu ya Kenya, right? Ratio ya polisi ukiangalia, United Nations ama Jumuiya ya Mataifa inasema kwamba lazima kuwe na polisi moja kwa wananchi 450. Lakini ukiangalia nambari kama hiyo katika nchi yetu ya Kenya, kwamba kuna polisi moja ambaye anafanya huduma kwa wananchi 1200. Karibu mara 3 mara 4. So tunasema kwamba katika hiyo namba na vitu vingine vingi sana vinazuia polisi kutenda kazi namna wanapaswa kutenda kazi. Ndio tunawapa lawama. Ndio sababu tunawapa lawama. Kwa polisi wafanye kazi ambao wanapaswa kufanya kwa njia ambayo wanataka kufanya. Pia ukiangalia upande wa investment katika technology. Tuko teknolojia nyingi sana sasa hivi ambayo katika nchi zote za kitaifa. Lakini bado nchi yetu hatujatumia teknolojia ambayo inapaswa kutumia kwa ile hali ambayo tunataka kutumia. AI imekuja, machine learning imekuja, big data analytics imekuja, vingine cyber security yote imekuja. Lakini bado hatujatumia hiyo kuweza kupunguza crime commission katika nchi yetu. So ndio polisi wapo, wanaweza kufanya kazi, lakini bado wana vizuizi hapa na pale ambao unazuia kutenda kazi katika ile kile inaita 100% capacity and capability.
Umezungumzia mahali pazuri na nikasema hii mada ni pana, lakini muda wetu ndio huo wa kuchochoa. Swala zima la teknolojia, tunaona mataifa ambayo yameendelea na taifa la Kenya kwa sasa tunafaa tu tumeendelea miaka 60 tangu tulipojinyakulia uhuru. Tunakuta kuna baadhi ya mataifa ambayo yanatumia teknolojia kuweza kupunguza visa vya uhalifu. Je, Kenya shida ni nini?
Shida yetu vile mwenzangu amesema na pia wewe umeashiria ni kwamba hii kitu inaitwa corruption nchi yetu ya Kenya. Ni jambo ambalo linaturudisha nyuma sana. Nenda nchi for example Dubai ama South Korea ama China. Utakuta hata hapa jirani yetu Rwanda.
Ndio.
Ukienda Rwanda, Kigali, utakuta kwamba hamna polisi wengi katika barabara ya taifa hili. Lakini kamera zile ziko pale ni nyingi sana. Ukitenda kosa la trafiki, utakuta ujumbe kwa simu yako. Kwamba unataka kusa fulani na unafaa ulipe faini kiwango fulani.
Ndio.
Kwa hivyo hapa nchi yetu tulikuwa na wale viongozi ambao wanaweza kuangalia umuhimu wa teknolojia na kusaidia utendakazi wa usalama. Tunaweza enda kiwango cha mbali sana. Hao viongozi ambao kuleta vision ndio ambao hawapo. Tukiwa na wao for example katika security na wala wanaongea security ambao wamesomea security kama mimi na Msomali hapa, nchi yetu tunaweza enda kwa kiwango mbali sana na tuweze kutumia mbinu nyingi sana ili kudumisha usalama nchi yetu, lakini wao hawapo.
Okay, basi ukweli teknolojia, tunazungumzia teknolojia. Tuliweka kamera hazifanyi kazi. Ukweli ni kwamba hazifanyi kazi. Ila hali serikali inalipia hiyo service kwa Safaricom. Lakini hakuna hata moja saa hizi na kuhakikishia. Ukienda katika ile command center, ile ilikuwa ni ya zote ni blank. Sasa tutasema tutazungumzia teknolojia vipi?
Tofauti kidogo. Ukiangalia kesi ya Were, tukiongea marehemu. Ile gari na ile pikipiki na wala ambao tuliopata namna gani? Kamera, tulitumia kamera.
Hazikutumika zile kamera ambazo tunazizungumzia. Zile zilikuwa za majengo za kibinafsi pale karibu. Huo ni ukweli na kueleza. Majengo. Hali kadhalika lile tukio ambalo lilitokea kule Lamu ambapo maafisa waliuawa. Niliuliza hawana vyombo vya drone. Jibu niliambiwa kwamba zile drone ambazo ziko pale zote zile donated.
Ndio.
Na zikiharibika hazitengezwi. Hatuna rasilimali zimewekwa pale kuhakikisha serviceability ya hivyo vifaa. Kwa hivyo teknolojia tunaletewa, tunaonyeshwa hii inaweza fanya kazi hivi. Hii inaweza fanya hivi. Tukishapewa basi tumetosheka. Kwa hivyo tatizo kubwa kutumia teknolojia ukosefu wa rasilimali.
Ndio.
Hatujawapa maafisa. Zile pesa unasikia zatolewa za security budget. Zinaingia unasikia zimetoka consolidated fund, lakini pale zinaenda hatujui. Waelewa? We've not equipped our officers. Ingia Central Police Station. Angalia vifaa vile vilivyo pale. Ni vile viliwachwa wakati ilikuwa inaitwa Kingsway Police Station. Na mkoloni. Ukiona kiti cha OCS bana. Unaona? Because we've not resourced the service.
Lakini kuna ile jopo la Maraga lile litoa mapendekezo.
Jopo utoa mapendekezo, Ransley Commission, Waki Commission. Tumekuja na Maraga ambaye koti iliende ikasema kwamba lilo jopo lilikuwa haramu. Ndio. Waelewa? Kwa hivyo haya ni mambo ambayo hapo tunayaona, tunayazungumzia. Lakini tusipokuwa na ile tunaita political will. Manake ukimwambia Inspector Generali unataka marekebisho kwa polisi. Hii ni meli tayari ambayo ilitoa nanga. Iko kule katikati baharini. Unajaribu kuiendesha ile meli. Hapa kuna mtu ambaye anajaribu kutoboa maji yaingie, mwingine sijui anafanya nini. Utairekebisha kweli? Lazima turudi ground zero. Ndio tuanze na kusema kwamba marekebisho tutaanzia hapa. Lakini meli ambayo iko katikati kaka ni vigumu. Tunazungumzia swala la kusema uhusiano baina ya polisi na mwananchi. Mimi nikienda katika kituo cha polisi nimepoteza simu, najua nitaambiwa lata 1000 ni kutrakia ile simu. Waelewa? Kwa hivyo inakuwa ni kwamba hizi ripoti ambazo wananchi wanazipeana kwa polisi tunaziita statistics. Zipo tu, unaambiwa tu wewe chukua tu OB alafu uache. In future kitu kinaweza kutokea, ile simu ipatikane ili mradi uko na OB.
Trial and error.
Yes. Waona? True. We need to resource the police. Human resource and financially.
Yes.
Waona? Ndio tuweze kukabiliana na, and that one will only come ikiwa tuko na ile political goodwill. Kwamba tuko na kiongozi ambaye anasema tumefika mwisho. Ni lazima tuwe na marekebisho. Na turudi katika ile spirit ya katiba ya mwaka 2010. Turudishe independence, uhuru wa huduma ya polisi. Tutoe hii mambo ya kwamba ni political appointee. Manake saa hizi Kanja akizungumza ataambiwa wewe unajua mimi ndio nilikuweka hapo. Nakumbuka Bwana Rigathi alisema nini? Huyu Kanja ananidhulumu na mimi ndio nilimweka hapo. Unaona? Kwa hivyo unafanya kazi kwa mujibu ama kwa matakwa ya wanasiasa.
Kama nilivyosema, hii mada ni pana sana, lakini muda wetu ndio huo unatupa kisogo, kwa sababu bado hatujaangazia masuala ya IPOA, hatujaangazia masuala ya tume ya National Police Service Commission ambayo muda wake uliisha. Kuna mambo chungu nzima ya kuweza kuangaziwa, lakini kwa sasa tukomee hapo. Wanasema siku zote Waswahili tamu ikizidi tamu tena inakuwa si tamu tena. Labda tu your closing remarks Bwana Chris Otieno.
Usalama wa nchi yetu ya Kenya ni vyema tuidumishe. Tunaona kwamba hatari nyingi sana zinatukabidhi kama wa Kenya. Ni vyema tuweze kuhakikisha kwamba vitengo vyote vya usalama katika nchi yetu ya Kenya vinakuwa manufaa katika huduma ya usalama. Ndivyo.
Na Bwana George Musamali, na wewe ukimalizia?
Ni kusema tu kwamba serikali kuu iwape rasilimali maafisa wa polisi. Ile tunaita human resource na hali kadhalika iwape financial resources ili waweze kukabiliana na changamoto za kiusalama ambazo tunazishuhudia hivi sasa. Na tuwalaumu tu ikiwa tumewawezesha, tumewapa uwezo na kisha tuambie mulilia mnataka hivi na hivi na hivi tumefanya. Lakini sasa majukumu ni yenu sasa. Jukumu ni kwenu kuhakikisha usalama wa wananchi. Tusipofanya hivyo basi hali itakuwa ni hii mwaka nenda mwaka rudi.
Na mtazamaji, kwanza niwashukuru sana wageni wangu ndani ya studio kwa kuja ndani ya studio na kuweza kutuchanganulia mawili matatu juu ya usalama, ndugu George Musamali na vile vile pia ndugu Chris Otieno, ambao hawa ni wataalam na vile vile pia ni wachanganuzi wa masuala ya kiusalama. Asanteni nyote ambao mmefanikisha kipindi hiki, ikiwa ni wapiga picha wangu hapa ndani ya studio. Nyuma niko naye Elijah, katikati niko naye pale Pauline, alafu niko naye ndugu Coleman upande wa pili. Asante sana vile vile pia Martin Njeru na kikosi chako kizima cha upande wa runinga. Asante vile vile pia Magda upande wa radio, na vile vile pia asante sana mwenzangu Dora Manya kuhakikisha kwamba matangazo yamekuja mubashara. Bas, kwa niaba ya Dennis Chisaka na Nancy Kemunto, mimi naitwa Rashid Mwamkondo. Siku zote mtazamaji, kuna vitu katika hii dunia kuingia ni rahisi, lakini ni vigumu kutoka. Hadi wakati mwingine, endelea kusikiliza KBC Radio Taifa, sauti ya Mkenya. Kipindi ni Zinga Kikenya. Kwako Dora Manya na Bernard Maranga.
Greetings in the name of the Most High, Jah Rastafari. My good name is Marley Moses, the positive warrior, alongside...
Yes, sir, DJ D-Rage, the baddest. Each and every Wednesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 TV.
Tunakuletea the biggest reggae party in 254 in a yard extra. Extra niceness of reggae music.
Extra dose of entertainment.
When the thing is nice,
we have to do it twice.
Na afungwe saiti ya
wewe nyamaza toka.
Huyo ni mwizi wa hiyo kijiji na kila mtu anamjua. Juzi kalikuwa chomwa. Kwa nini unafananisha mimi na wakina
nani?
Au Makoa?
Wewe si mtoto wa Shigondi Makoa.
Na Makoa hapo tunaishi wengi. Si mimi peke yake.
Lakini yeye mbona hakuendea wao wengine alimekutambua wewe?
Kukunishonea
nini? Nguo.
Wale wa kuchukua vyombo mwisho.
Auctioneer.
Ndio hiyo kushonea.
Sasa uchezo wa kushonea wa kushonea.
Si ndio ulijiibia?
How do you steal from yourself?
Why do you send some means?
Are you listening to yourself?
Of course, why not? Yeah. Why not?
Mimi naweza kuchapa sana wewe. Usione mtu yangu sifanya.
Welcome, this is Good Morning Kenya, and we now get into health matters. And as you can already tell from the weather that we're experiencing, we are into the cold season. And of course, in June it's normally also cold, July is also cold, and then maybe the cold will be done with the cold rather, maybe around August thereabout. So it is only right for us to have this conversation, and that is on dealing with allergies during cold seasons. We need to get to know how well we can prevent ourselves from getting some of these allergies, or if you're someone who has seasonal allergies, how well to just manage them. And in studio with me is Dr. Theophilus Wangata. He is a physician from the Precise Healthcare, and he's here to just talk to us about this. So all the questions we may be having concerning allergies around the cold season, he's here to answer them. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you.
A pleasure to have you too.
Okay, how about we begin by first just shedding light on what allergies are?
So allergies are natural reactions to allergens or things in the environment that are not kind to your body. So the allergens can be pollen, it can be dust, it can be the cold weather itself, it can be perfumes or other types of things, chemicals. But during the cold weather, majority of the allergens are relating to either the dust mite or the pollen grains or the cold itself. Yeah.
All right. When you talk about the dust mites, what exactly are they?
So dust mites are actually small little tiny microscopic animals that are present in the dust, and you cannot see them with your plain eyes. They easily can spread through the air, and they are found in people's homes, and as a result, they can easily get into the respiratory systems and cause allergy.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. So they are normally within the homes.
Yeah.
So the best way to do away with them is
keep the home environment as clean as possible. If there are carpets, ensure that you wash the carpets or you regularly clean the carpets, and ensure the house is not stuffy. Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes you always have this cold that is not ending, and it could be just, maybe your carpet that has not been washed in a long time.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's get into the cold allergies now. What are some of the common cold allergies?
So we have different types of cold allergies, and it could just be based on what the cause. Like it can be because of the mold, or because of the dust mites, as we've said, or because of pollen. And pollen is all over with us because that's how plants reproduce and pollinate. So especially in areas where there's a lot of farms, during the times of harvesting or around the time when there's pollination, it's easy for a lot of allergies to occur. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the allergens that cause some of these allergies.
Yes, and especially during the cold weather, you get different types of allergens that are also, they get worse during the cold season. Because of the cold, people put on air conditioning in their cars. That also makes some of the dust that has accumulated in the cars, which may contain some allergens as well. And the houses are kept closed most of the time. So the chance that there's dust that would circulate in the house is higher. And also generally the cold itself. Some people, especially asthmatics or those who have general allergy to cold, are also prone to cold allergies during this period. Yeah.
Yeah. Can we talk about the allergies themselves? Some people maybe, people who are asthmatic can get allergies from the cold, yes.
Yeah.
What else are some of these allergies? Maybe the sinuses and whatnot?
Yes, so asthmatics or people who generally have allergies can have different types of manifestations of the allergy.
Yeah.
And you can have asthmatics start wheezing because of the cold itself or because of dust, and start coughing or sneezing or watery eyes. We can also have people with sinus inflammation or sinuses, having stuffy noses, and the nose is very blocked. They sneeze, they could even have a headache and feel fatigued. And there's so much that happens in allergies. Some people even think it's an infection. Yeah. But generally, most allergies do not present with fever. So if there's no fever and you have all this stuffiness and all the sneezing and the symptoms, it's highly likely to just be an allergy. And it may not necessarily be a cold. There is a difference between a cold and an allergy.
And an allergy.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. How do you tell the difference between a cold, just common cold, and seasonal allergy reaction?
So a common cold is an infection caused by the common cold viruses.
Yeah.
So by nature, because it's an infection, it can potentially cause other symptoms like a fever or lethargy, and you might even need a sick sheet to you're not able to go to work.
Yeah.
But allergies just present with manifestation of allergic symptoms like sneezing, coughing, sometimes itchiness, and there's no likelihood that you would get a fever just because of an allergy, unless it is something else. Because we have other types of allergies as well apart from the weather.
Yes.
You have food allergy and other manifestations.
Sure.
But generally speaking, allergies do not present with a fever, and that's the main difference with a common cold. Yeah.
So if you have a fever, mainly it's not really an allergic reaction.
It's unlikely to be an allergic reaction, and it's most likely to be a cold or something else like a sore throat, tonsillitis or something else. Yeah, but the other thing is that the fever in colds is a low-grade fever. It's not so high. Yeah, it wouldn't be as high as someone who has pneumonia or someone who has tonsillitis or more serious medical conditions. And most of the time the fever also comes down after some days.
Okay, so like at the moment right now, even around my workplace, which is where we are right now, you hear many people saying, oh, I feel like I have a cold. I don't know if it's an allergy or it's a cold, or a common word we like to use is there's a flu that's going round. You'll hear someone saying there's a flu that's going round Nairobi. Is that most times an allergy or? Sometimes
it's actually a flu or because depending on the manifestation, sometimes patients come to me at my clinic and we notice that they have a fever, they have this cough, running nose, stuffy nose, and other symptoms, and we run tests and we realize it's a viral infection. So many times it is an infection, but sometimes it's just allergy, especially during the cold months of June and July, as we are approaching there. You just find it's allergic manifestations, and we have so many people who are either asthmatics or borderline asthmatics, people who wheeze when it's cold weather, but they are not necessarily considered asthmatic.
Do we have allergy tests? And is it common for someone to come in to just get checked if they have any allergies?
Good question. So we actually have tests for allergy, and you can be told what you're allergic to.
Okay.
Most of the allergists who are specialist doctors are able to do allergy skin tests. And these allergy skin tests give you a variety of different allergens that you can react to, ranging from food products like milk or protein, Some people are allergic to goat meat, others are allergic to beans, others are allergic to eggs. And then ranging to now common household things like now dust mites, as I've mentioned. You can even be allergic to cockroaches, and you don't know.
What do you mean?
There are people who are allergic to corn,
How are you
maize.
allergic? Okay, you've left me at you can be allergic to cockroaches. I mean, we don't eat them, we don't, even if they're somewhere there, you don't really interact with them.
But they are always in the house.
Yeah.
In some places, unless you get rid of them.
Yeah.
So whatever the surfaces they are on can potentially leave some of their chemical compounds or whatever, and that can cause allergies in some people.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So bottom line is allergies can be tested, but tested not in terms of like you can't test cold allergy unless you feel it yourself that you are allergic during cold. But you can test for chemicals or compounds or food. And there are allergy skin tests, and we have doctors who can do that.
Is it common? Is it something that is
commonly done? No, it's not commonly done, and the reason is majority of people who have allergies actually know what they're allergic to. If you're allergic to eggs, you would know you're allergic to eggs. But there are instances where we have patients who have challenging situations. They have allergies that come in and go, and they are not able to tell. And especially when it comes to food, and they're not able to tell what is it that is causing my allergies. So we ask them to have the allergy skin test.
Okay. When we're talking about, allergies during the cold season, what are some of the causes? Do we have specific causes? Are some of these things genetic?
So allergies can be either genetic or acquired or environmental. Like, let's say asthma, for instance, is actually an allergic sort of condition where patients are likely to have attacks during certain weather conditions or certain environments.
Yeah.
And those can be maybe very cold weather or when they are exposed to dust or something like that. So they can be inherited, but they can also be because of the environment, especially the environmental pollution, the air pollution and all that. And it can just be because of food. So you have to know what type of allergies what causes your allergy. In fact, when patients go to the doctor and they have a reaction, it's not easy for the doctor to just pinpoint and say it's caused by this. The doctor has to go to the history and ask the patient, which environment were you in, or what type of foods did you eat in the last few days, or what chemicals did you apply on your body, you know? Yeah, because it like skin allergies can be because of creams or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Now, you know, during this cold times, some people have heaters in their homes, you know, heaters that they can just, you know, have them on, and they get to, you know, do away with the cold or try just shield themselves from the cold. Do some of these heaters cause or worsen the symptoms of allergies?
Yes. So the heaters are good because at least they keep people warm, but you have to maintain them and ensure that it's not very dusty, because you know, when the air heats up, it rises, and it rises with the dust, whichever dust is around it, or dust particles. So you have to ensure any carpet is well cleaned, the surfaces of all places are clean, and you also don't leave the heater on for too long.
Okay.
Yeah, same situation as air conditioners in vehicles. Yeah.
So the only way it can worsen the allergic reaction is if it has dust
If the environment is not good.
Okay.
Yeah, because heating alone does not cause allergy. It's the dust or something within the environment that would then increase the capacity for the airborne dust mites to be inhaled.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that would eventually cause allergy. Interestingly, those dust mites are actually in the tick family or the spider family, but they are very microscopic and tiny. So imagine things that are in that family getting into your respiratory system. It will definitely trigger a reaction.
Yeah.
And that reaction is what is called an allergy. And sometimes allergies can be so bad, like, you know, like the asthmatics. As asthmatics can get into an attack and require either to be admitted in hospital for nebulization or to be given special IV medications to combat the allergy. Yeah. So allergies cannot be taken simply, because it can be a very bad reaction. And what I didn't also mention is that you can also have allergies to other things like medications. Yeah. So when you go to the hospital, you have to also let the doctor know that I'm allergic to this medicine. Yeah.
All right. Before we get to talk about ways to prevent some of these allergic reactions during the cold seasons, maybe just to get clarification, can cold air in itself trigger allergies?
Yes.
Okay.
Cold air in itself can trigger allergy because there are people who are prone or who are predisposed to allergy. If you travel to a very cold place, and in Kenya we have some really cold places, and now that we are heading towards the cold months, so it's possible to the cold itself. And by the way, that's one of the things that triggers allergy in asthmatics. It's very cold in the middle of the night, maybe you didn't dress so warmly, and then you get an asthmatic attack. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also asthmatic children going to swim, maybe the swimming pool is cold, they are not warmly dressed, it can also trigger an attack. So cold can trigger allergies, and not just for asthmatics, but also people who have general allergies. If you're in a cold environment for a long time, you will notice you're starting to have a running nose or sneezing or something like that, for those who have allergies.
Yeah.
But there are people who don't have allergies.
At all?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for people with people with seasonal allergies, you know, and by seasonal I'm also including the ones who have allergies every time there's the cold weather.
Yes.
You know, what's the best way to prevent this? Because, you know, for some it's like a usual. Every time it's cold, you just know I'll be having a running nose. I'll keep feeling like I need to clear my throat every other time. You know, just, is there a way to prevent that?
Yes, so one is just learn yourself. If you are a mother or a father or a relative of somebody who has allergies, learn them and understand what causes their allergies. For school-going children, majority of the challenges also have to do with just staying warm. Yeah, so ensure you keep warm, especially during the cold months.
Yeah.
And I know, like in boarding schools, it's not very easy to monitor when you're a parent and you're outside so the teachers have a responsibility to ensure that the students keep warm during the cold weather, especially in the middle of the night. They also cover themselves well, and during the early morning hours when waking very early for preps. But for people who are just working, they are going to the towns and places like that, they need to ensure they keep warm even when they are in the car, even when they are in the office. So that's where the heating also comes in, but ensure that you have to keep the environment as clean as possible and ensure you avoid dusty places. Ensure your environment is clean and safe from dust. So be wiping the surfaces, be cleaning the rooms and every place that has a mat. Every carpet that has, you know, the carpets that have the sisal type of carpets have to be really cleaned regularly. But there's also one important thing, pets. There's something called pet danga or the exfoliation from the skin of pets, which happens regularly for people who keep pets. That's also another source of allergy. So people with pets have to regularly ensure they are well cleaned and they do not stay in the same place with people unless they have a specific room for them. It's very important. Yeah, because some asthmatics also get asthmatic attacks because getting exposed so much to cats or dogs. Yeah, it's very important to take note of that as well.
For far parents, we should take notes. You know, we have far moms and far dads nowadays. Now, you know, aside from just keeping warm, you know, during cold weather, I know of, you know, or I've heard of, because I'm among the people who usually get reactions during the cold. So I've been advised to be taking, you know, things to boost my immunity. You know, for example, there are ginger shots whereby you blend ginger, turmeric, you know, together and you make sure that you take those shots every morning. Is that a thing?
So basically, just increasing your nutritional status and immunity will just help. Because remember, allergies are reactions to an external substance in the environment. So if you have a better immunity, you're better off. And I normally encourage people to just have a lifestyle of eating healthy. Having some vitamin C as many times as possible. And you know, vitamin C is very good for improving your immunity. Also vitamin D, and these are found in fruits and vegetables. So rather than just saying, okay, which fruit? Is it bananas? Is it oranges? Is it lemons? The idea about fruits and vegetables and keeping healthy is the more the color, the more the nutrition. So just keep ensuring that you don't only limit yourself
Your
to...
plate should be colorful.
Yes, as colorful as possible, then you're as nutritious as
possible.
Yeah.
So diet has a big part to, you know, plays a big part rather in also just ensuring that you're preventing, you know, the allergy, some of these allergic reactions during the cold.
Yeah, because it just keeps you healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and remember, when you're not healthy, you would probably even not just have that allergy. You might get common colds, the one who are saying that come with fever, and you know, that are caused by viruses. Yeah.
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 I've actually gotten a message here. Someone is asking, are there allergic reactions that can cause death within hours, and how can they be prevented and acted upon?
Yeah, that's a very good question. We have anaphylactic shocks or severe allergic reactions that can cause death within hours, the way she has just, or he or she has just mentioned. And this can be caused by different types of allergens. Like we have shellfish allergy, you know, seafood and shellfish.
Yeah.
It can be really bad for people who have shellfish allergy. It can cause severe reactions that can even make them have challenges of breathing, which, and if you do not have capacity to handle that, it can lead to death.
Yeah.
It can be that bad. Yeah. We also have medications caused by different types of compounds that can actually cause severe allergic reactions. And so in hospitals, doctors always ask if you're allergic to anything, and if it's a medicine being prescribed that has potential for severe allergy, then the doctor has to give it with a lot of caution and maybe give it slowly. That's why sometimes we give medicine slowly, because we have to monitor. And those types of medications can only be given also when you have something that can counteract the reaction. Yeah. So there's always something that can cause a severe allergy that can cause somebody to lose their life. So doctors are always aware that such a thing can happen. But it can also happen out there in the community. Food. Yeah.
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 Okay. Even, you know, still on that, I know that also asthmatic patients, you know, during the cold season, if in case they get an attack and they don't get, you know, first aid immediately, then one can lose their lives as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, asthma is one of the causes of death.
Yeah.
Yeah. And severe asthmatic attacks, if you do not go to the hospital immediately or get help immediately, it can cause respiratory failure, which means you just stop breathing because you just can't breathe. And if you stop breathing for some minutes, you know, that's serious. Yeah.
Okay.
So usually doctors, when they get someone in an asthmatic attack, it's an emergency. It's one of the medical emergencies. So you have to administer medications immediately. The good news is that asthmatic attacks, they respond well to emergency medications. Yeah, you just need to be at the right place. Yeah, and
And have your inhaler.
Yes, and you know, like we do home care. We bring the hospital to the house, and that's one of the things we like to advocate, that what can you do at home when you have that asthmatic attack and you're not able to go to the hospital immediately? Yeah. You can call us and we'll be able to come there, and before you even start thinking or wondering what you would do. We've had parents call us even in the middle of the night, and we send help, either in terms of nebulization, inhalers, or IV medications that can help to resuscitate a patient or help somebody who is having challenges with an asthmatic attack. But generally, severe asthmatic attacks are an emergency situation that might even need an ambulance to take the patient to the hospital, and they can even land in an ICU. Yeah, it can be that serious.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's someone also who had asked me to ask, when, you know, they have a child who has adenoids, right?
Yeah.
And the adenoids were removed, but still every time when or rather, how do I put this question? Their child had adenoids, right?
Yeah.
The adenoids were removed, but every time when we are in the cold season, they still get reactions. And they were wondering, what is the issue? You know, I think I had dealt with it by removing the adenoids and the tonsils and, you know. So what could be the issue there?
So basically, adenoids and tonsils are growths within the nasal passages. And those growths make a child either snore or breathe through the mouth or have challenges sleeping at night. Yeah. So in that situation, there's a possibility that it's not just the adenoids that had the problem. There's a possibility that the child also had other seasonal allergies. You know, and if the allergy is caused by dust mites, even if you remove the adenoids, you can still have an allergy, isn't it? Yeah. And so it's important for parents to know that allergy is a little different from adenoids and tonsils. Yeah.
Okay. As we get into maybe just looking at ways to manage and the treatment options available, some people take cetirizine, you know, to help in allergies. Is it advisable to take, you know, cetirizine to deal with allergies, you know, like the cold or someone is itching?
So cetirizine is in the group of medications we call antihistamines. They are called anti because they fight the release of histamine, which is the compound that is released when you're having an allergic reaction. So usually, many Kenyans go and get this medicine over the counter. But the problem with that is that they could be having other issues apart from issues relating to just that allergy. Or either they are over-treating themselves or under-treating themselves. So you need to see a doctor or a trained medical person who will guide you on when to use medications and what dosage to use, because they are also of different dosages.
Most times we self-medicate, especially with, you know, cold reactions. I doubt if, okay, let me speak for myself. Let me not speak for everyone. But most times if I know it's around, we're in the cold season and I'm feeling, you know, like I have a flu or something, I rarely go to the hospital. I'll just go to the, you know, just over-the-counter medication and take that medicine. So it's not really advisable to do that.
It's not advisable to keep using over-the-counter medications for allergies. Because again, you might find that there could be something else that is causing your running nose or your sneezing and all that. And we have other conditions, just as you mentioned, sinusitis. You might need to see an ENT. Physician or ENT doctor who will be able to properly diagnose your sinusitis, and some sinuses require surgery. So imagine if you are just self-medicating and you might need proper treatment.
Okay. So let's look at treatment options in general now. What would you advise, like in terms of the treatment options available for allergic reactions, specifically during the cold times?
So during the cold times, you need to know yourself. If you're allergic to cold, just keep warm. There's the home remedies, like keeping warm, ensuring the environment is clean. Besides that, if the allergies persist, then you need to see a doctor. If you're wheezing, for instance, then the doctor will prescribe specific medications, like inhalers or tablets or whatever medications that will ensure that you can just take one puff and you'll be good. Your day will be okay. So there's the role for the patient and there's the role for the doctor. The role for the patient is to ensure their environment is clean. And patient does not mean somebody who is sick. It can mean anybody who can get,
in waiting, who see that. Unfortunately.
Anyone who can potentially get an allergy. So you don't have to be sick in a hospital bed.
To call yourself a patient.
You just need to know that you can potentially get an allergy. And always have a physician's number with you in case, because some allergies can be so bad in the middle of the night. And you need to do something about it. So before you decide which medicine to take, whether it's cetirizine, as you've mentioned, it's best to call the doctor and let the doctor guide you on what needs to be taken. And this is the digital age. The doctor can also send you an e-prescription. You know, we also do consultations that are virtual. So the doctor can do a virtual consultation and send you an e-prescription. And with that prescription, it's easier to just have a pharmacy deliver the medication. That is better and faster and more professional than going to the pharmacy and saying, give me this medication. Yeah. So you don't have to leave your house. Yeah. You don't really have to leave your house.
Yeah. Technology has advanced.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now I'm trying to think of... Go ahead.
Yeah, you don't have to leave your house because, like, we have hospital, which means house hospital. The patients can call us. Yeah. Can I say the number that they can call us on?
Okay.
0713 749 001. 0713 749 001. So patients can call us.
Yeah.
And when you call us, even if it's in the middle of the night, we can, if the situation is not so serious, we can do an e-prescription and even have the pharmacy deliver the prescription to you. So you don't have to leave the house.
Yeah.
But if it is serious, we can bring the doctor to the house or bring the nurse to the house. Yeah.
But now I'm trying to imagine someone who lives in, areas that are... the internet is not even as stable, or someone is somewhere deep in, in the
in
village.
the rural areas.
Yeah, in the village, and they could be watching us right now.
Yeah.
Maybe what's the best way to just manage some of these reactions? Remedies that they can just use in the house for those who can't be able to also just phone a doctor.
First of all, keep warm all the time,
Yeah.
as much as possible, even in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
There are people who say, oh, I have a challenge, sleeping and covering myself. Please, if it's cold, just cover yourself. And then ensure that you always have a number you can call. It's very important, even if it's the local clinical officer or the local nurse.
Yeah.
In the village, it's very important because you might need them in the middle of the night. Also, ensure that you have home remedies, like we all hear of dawa and all that. Prepare some, have some ginger, lemon, honey. Those home remedies that keep you well hydrated. Also drink a lot of water and ensure you have a lot of fruits and vegetables during this season. Yeah, and one of the bigger challenges is, again, water, because when it's too cold, people don't like to drink. So they get dehydrated. They are more prone not only to allergies, but to other medical conditions as well.
Okay, someone is asking, not taking sugar or breakfast, can it help in preventing allergies? Sometimes you're told, usikunywe sukari.
Yeah.
Does it help?
So sugar has nothing really relating to allergies.
Okay.
It has everything to do with other things like diabetes or tonsillitis. Some people get tonsillitis when they take too much sugary related things like ice cream and all that.
Yeah.
But it has nothing to do with allergies per se. Yeah.
Yeah. Can one have... Okay, go. Sorry.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with allergies per se, but generally speaking, it's more healthy to limit your sugar intake, because why would you want to take a lot of sugar that your body doesn't need? And that's why we have high levels of obesity in the country. Yeah. Because people are taking in more. Imagine fueling a vehicle beyond what is needed there. The fuel will pour out. So this fuel in the body pours out in form of a big kitambi. Or diabetes or other health conditions. Can
one be allergic to cold water? Some people say, even in high schools, there are people who have prescription for just showering with hot water. Can one be allergic to cold water?
I hope head teachers will not wonder what this doctor is talking about. But generally speaking, there are people who, as we said, are allergic to cold. And if you're asthmatic, cold water is one of the things you are likely to not be very happy with. And if you're exposed to too much cold water, like either in a swimming pool or just the environment is too cold, it can also trigger wheezing. So teachers should know that, and if a doctor has written that I suggest this, this is my recommendation, they should be willing to handle it, especially for students in school. Yeah.
So it does cause
it can cause, it can for some category of people.
Okay.
But let this, whoever parent is concerned, let them go to the doctor with the child and let the doctor examine and make recommendations to the school if it's necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's someone who was saying they normally get reaction on their skin when it's cold. Can it cause a reaction on your skin and not just the usual kind of colds that we know of? You know, when it's cold, I get to sneeze, I get to, you know, have a flu. Can it cause a reaction on the skin?
Sometimes it's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. But especially in very cold countries, you know, those Scandinavian or countries that are very extremely cold, it is possible that you can have a reaction on the skin. In Kenya, it's not so likely because the cold weather that we have just causes goosebumps, you know, where you feel it's chilly and you're shivering, but not a skin reaction per se. But it's possible in some people, yeah. So they have to see the doctor, and the doctor will advise because skin manifestations of allergy are common, generally, yeah. And it could also be a mix of allergies. Remember, I said there can be chemicals like creams, they can be food, yeah. And now we are talking the weather, and sometimes it can be a mix of all that. So you need a proper consultation. Yeah.
As we finish up, maybe we can talk about a bit about, you know, how some of this manifests in really young children, and how a parent can be able to know, okay, this is actually a reaction because of the cold.
So the main manifestations are the symptoms, and they are respiratory in nature most of the time. Some of them are to do with the eyes, like itchy eyes. You know, a child who is always itching eyes when it's very cold and the eyes are tearing. Then there's the nose is also running, and maybe it's stuffy, the child is sneezing, or there's a cough that only comes in the wee hours of the night. Yeah. In fact, if the cough only comes in the night, it's most likely to be allergic in nature. Sometimes there's the other condition called reflux, acid reflux, that also causes coughs to come in the night. But mostly it's allergic in nature. Yeah. So when mothers or fathers or caregivers realize that in the children, then they need to just take the child to the doctor, let the doctor make a proper decision based on the history. Sometimes on examination you don't notice anything. The chest is clear, the nose is okay at the time the patient is coming, maybe the eyes are not red. But in the wee hours of the night, the symptoms start.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that happens to most of us, not just the little ones. You know, at night is when you're coughing like, you know, like there's no tomorrow. Yeah. All right, let's wind up with just getting your final remarks on this.
So thank you. As we approach the peak season for the cold weather in this country, yeah, we are still in May, but we are heading towards June and July. Yeah, so it's gonna be very cold. My advice is for teachers, please ensure your students are warm, especially those in boarding school and even those coming to the day schools. For adults and people who go to work, ensure you stay warm at most of the time, and ensure the environment is clean. And by clean, I mean any dust is removed. And also aeration is very important. Open the windows mostly during the day, because I know it gets cold, but open the windows because it helps remove some of the dust. For those who have pets, please ensure they are always clean. Yeah. And then ensure you always have a doctor with you that you can always call.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Theo, for joining us for this conversation. And you've heard it from the doctor. Make sure that you just look after yourself, especially as we approach the cold season. And one thing to take away from here, you know, from this discussion, just don't self-diagnose. Go to the hospital and get diagnosed over there. This is where we end it. My name is Vivian Degwa. Thank you so much for staying with us from the beginning till now, when we get to a close of the show. Good Morning Kenya. We do this each and every morning. So see you tomorrow, God willing. Goodbye.
Greetings in the name of the Most High Jah Rastafari. My good name is Marley Moses, the positive warrior, alongside...
Yes, sir, DJ D-Rage, the baddest. Each and every Wednesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 TV.
Tunakuletea the biggest reggae party in 254 in a yard extra. Extra niceness of reggae music.
Extra dose of entertainment.
When the thing is nice, we
have to do it twice.
Are you a talented artist? Or are you passionate about a topic you want to discuss? But money can be very hard to find for an upcoming artist. Don't worry, Studio Mashinani has got your back. Sign up on ajira.co.ke to book a session with your music and video producers across the country. Work on your music, jingles, spoken words, and even podcasts to realize your dream. All for free. Studio Mashinani, Radani Talent.
Wait, am I reading this right? I can follow social media accounts and make over $260 in a day? Well, it's a scam, of course. But scams like this are a huge global business, and many scammers are even victims themselves. Our topic on Shift. This is Aaron. He was taken to Myanmar under false pretenses and forced to scam people online or via the phone. We'll show you Aaron's story in a moment. But what exactly is scamming?
Essentially, I think scamming in its general form is really a way of deception, right? And scamming, I think, in particular phone scamming or online scamming, is a modern way of social engineering attacks where basically you're exploiting individuals' emotions or potentially weaknesses in trying to lure them and making some profit or gain.
Scammers prey on our trust and often offer money. One of the first internet scams were poorly written emails from the so-called Nigeria connection. For example, I receive money in my account, which I then transfer in exchange for a reward. Of course, there isn't any, and I have effectively laundered dirty money. But in today's world, AI scams are on the rise. Using AI software like ChatGPT, scammers can now translate scam emails into any language with increasing accuracy, mistake-free and tailored to each target group. One popular scam is the so-called shock call. A scammer posing as a police officer demands bail for a family member allegedly involved in a crime or accident. But the scam took a more sinister turn recently thanks to AI.
Es hat ja auch schon diese Angriffe gegeben in USA.
There have been cases in the US where mothers received calls from their daughter's alleged kidnappers. A mother would hear her daughter's voice in the background saying, "Mum, Mum, they're hurting me." And of course, the voice was AI generated. Someone will have recorded the daughter's voice somewhere and used AI to sound like her.
Diese Aussagen gemacht.
Just a snippet of a real conversation or voice memo is enough for the AI. Deepfakes too, that's AI-generated videos, are becoming increasingly attractive for scammers. Microsoft's unreleased AI model Vasa 1, for example, can generate animations from a single photo from, say, an Instagram account.
Do some push-ups. Run up and down the stairs.
Any language can be lip-synced. Professionals armed with forensic tools may still be able to identify the fakes, but amateurs, on the other hand, might have difficulty spotting them, especially at first glance. The most important thing for scammers is not the technology, but gaining the trust of their victims.
Wir reagieren also immer sehr mit Vertrauen.
We're very trusting when someone gives us just a few pieces of information, like the name of someone we know. But that information is easily accessible on social media. Who I am friends with, who I am in contact with. Anyone could go and use their names. We're often not so aware of that.
Many scammers work from West Africa, Southeast Asia or Eastern Europe and often target the richer global north. Vulnerable people are targeted first, like children and seniors. But also people who are lonely, tricked by so-called romance scammers, are taken advantage of financially. Scamming has long been part of organized crime worldwide. In Southeast Asia, there are entire office complexes where hundreds of scammers work side by side. But in many cases, the people in these so-called scam factories are actually victims themselves, having been brought there under false pretenses and forced to defraud others. A UN report shows the scale of this modern form of slavery.
Credible sources indicate that at least 120,000 people across Myanmar may be held in situations where they are forced to carry out online scams, with estimates in Cambodia similarly at 100,000. Other states in the region, including Lao PDR, the Philippines and Thailand, have also been identified as main countries of destination or transit where at least tens of thousands of people have been involved.
Aaron, too, was forced into scamming others against his will for months. He spoke to DW about his experiences. His nightmare began on a trip to a job interview in Bangkok, Thailand.
We were supposed to go to a hotel that is like maybe 10 minutes away from the airport, but we drove in a different direction.
10 minutes turned into several hours.
That's when we realized we are not going to Bangkok. I was so scared.
It is hours before Aaron and the other victims reach their destination. They cross the river Moe and end up at the notorious scam factory known as KK Park. It is here where thousands of people were taken to, forced to defraud others in China, Europe or the USA. One of the people behind the KK Park scam factory is Broken Tooth. He is believed to be the head of a Chinese triad. According to former forced laborers, the factory is secured by a border guard unit from northern Myanmar, which in turn consists of former rebels. The victims are not only from the region, but like Aaron, also from Africa, for example. KK Park is professionalized even to the extent that the forced workers must study manuals with precise instructions on how to build trust and exploit weaknesses. They must meet certain targets. How many people they contact and what they earn is tightly monitored.
Security was checking our computers, seeing if we are doing our job or playing.
Punishments in the factory are draconian. You are denied food if you don't have new customers by noon. And if you don't answer on time, you're beaten or forced to stand for hours. 17-hour working days, no vacation, no break. This is what several of the victims told DW reporters. Those who want to leave are threatened with death or being sold to another factory. One of the methods KK Park and other scam factories force their workers to employ is using crypto scams, convincing people to invest in non-existent cryptocurrencies. Laura's story starts while trying to form new connections online.
After a while, this guy, he says, we have this type of cryptocurrency. I wanted to learn how cryptocurrency works, and this person was so kind. He said, I'm going to teach you.
Cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin are popular as an investment. The risk is high and so are the potential profits. But cryptocurrencies are poorly regulated, transactions difficult to trace, which also makes them highly attractive for organized crime.
So I trusted this person. I let him teach me. You invest in the website, you can see your funds there, you can take out the money.
The scammers maintain contact with the victims for months, persuading them to invest more and more money. Laura thought the website was legitimate. She was convinced she was investing her savings well. Instead, her money flowed into a crypto wallet, a kind of digital account, and was in the hands of the fraudsters.
I wanted to withdraw a couple $1,000 and I couldn't withdraw them. And this person was pushing me to invest more money into this cryptocurrency.
Then the website went offline. The scammer no longer replied and the money was gone. This form of online fraud is known as pig butchering. The fraudster fattens the victim up before taking them to the slaughterhouse.
And you're left wondering, why is this person doing this to me?
Laura was looking for like-minded people online, but this search ended up costing her a lot of money. Scams like that can often involve five-figure sums and be very traumatizing and embarrassing for the affected.
Dann wollen sie das oft nicht
Victims often don't tell anyone. They're so ashamed. In the worst cases, people even take their own lives because they feel so much shame. Sometimes rendered hopeless, having lost so much money.
It's an incredibly lucrative business for criminals. In the US, for example, scammers stole a monumental $10 billion from private individuals in 2023. And that's not even including scams against companies. So how can you protect yourself? Scammers often use false identities, posing as bank or postal service employees. If you suspect a scam, it is best to start by checking the spelling of email addresses or websites. Since the real address is already taken, scammers use slight variations to mimic the original. It could be just a hyphen where there was none, or a letter from a different alphabet. Love and romance scammers often create fake profiles. Here, a reverse image search can help, for instance with Google Lens or the Invid program. However, this method falls short for deepfakes of fake callers.
Und sich das zu verifizieren.
To counteract these, all you can do is make up a code word or a question and answer game. Are you really well? And the answer to that is, yes, I ate my oatmeal this morning, for example. An innocuous question with a very specific answer.
Offene Frage, auf die aber eine ganz bestimmte Antwort kommen muss.
Scammers often use professional methods to manipulate their victims. They rely on flattery, sympathy, or time pressure, all to make money.
If you have even the slightest suspicion, then you should end the conversation or chat as quickly as possible. You should not reply to the email, but ask someone else and not get involved in a conversation. That is the best countermeasure we have.
Die beste Gegenmaßnahme, die wir haben.
Forced to work in scam factories. Foreign investigators feel powerless. Myanmar's legal system is often corrupt. Aaron and a few others were lucky. 8 workers on the Thai side of the border managed to free them, while they were being transported to another scam factory via Thailand. But and not every rescue goes to plan. Scammers are often one step ahead of investigators, also because authorities operate across national borders. And the dangers are growing and on the rise, as AI offers scammers new avenues for exploitation. So we must continue. Thanks for watching. Stay vigilant.
They say we get it. We as the local scene at their very best. Fine art, culinary art, event, and we have got you covered. It's Kevin Kasioki. Much more. Channel 1.
yako wapi?